You came home to the news that Chrystia Freeland had stepped down or been fired. Stepped down after being fired.
She still hasn't unfrozen my bank account.
Somebody posted her handwritten notes to the RCMP. She's like, we gotta call these guys terrorists.
I think that was a sign of demonic possession. Like if you go and read academic research on the signs they would look for to find a witch, like medical signs or behavioral indicators, that you're writing gibberish and weird twitching would have been like on the manual.
Constantly messing with their hair. That's a witch. So
she's very weird.
She is very weird.
And she's got like a dwarf-like stature.
Yeah.
And yeah, she seems very like spun out in interviews. Like she's always moving her head in a weird way.
Yeah.
And like her facial expressions, the way they change like moment to moment.
She like, I love the look of concentration when like she's concentrating, trying to hear a question. Huh? Like who squints when they're listening?
Seems like something insulting to do to somebody.
Yeah.
Like you're listening to some little kids ask some retarded question like,
why are you $64 billion
how does the
over
lamp
budget?
work?
Yeah. Just start squinting at them like, huh?
Why don't cats talk?
Yeah.
I tried drinking the other day.
Yeah.
Or it was like a few weeks ago, just on Sunday, doing random things.
Yeah.
And I drank some alcohol.
Just getting
at
trashed.
like 3 p.m, and then did the boring things around the house.
Was it better?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I can see why people enjoy alcohol.
There's maybe that's Trudeau's secret. Have you seen his liquor bill?
Yeah, it's very high, and I don't think it can get that high just by drinking fancy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's quantities involved.
There's volume, dude. there's
he's had a few drunken on-camera moments where he seemed like pretty clumsy, or you know what I mean.
You can spot a drunk guy. Or he's just not in control. Or he's a little too loose. He's elbowing bitches in their tit. You think he was hammered when he did that?
I think there's a good chance they are
drunk all the time.
Pissed when they're in Parliament.
Yeah.
Like that one lady the other day was, I don't think I'd ever heard her talk, but she was on the Liberal side and she was just going crazy. I don't remember her name. And she sounded like hammered. And I'm pretty sure that was filmed in the morning. But it's a different kind of world. Like, I don't know. I think it's a popular choice to
maybe they're just
drink a lot and do a lot of drugs in Ottawa. And what would you expect from these people?
Well, like, imagine you could never be fired effectively. Like, never fired. You have to step down. Of course, you'd be fucking hammered at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Didn't 3 finance ministers step down like within 20 minutes?
In series, yeah. So she did, and then whoever it was supposed to go to directly after that, she also stepped down, and then there was 2 other people. They just called the 2 marks. They were next, and they're already like in a bunch of shit and have to like step down. So like it just.
Oh yeah, the Randy guy.
Oh yeah,
and someone else who I think quit that day or something. Anyway, this is big stuff because we're talking in a new era.
Yeah.
In perhaps this final conversation before the end of 2024.
Yeah.
And we're living in the new age of McTrump, and also we could be in the final days of like, do you think Trudeau will be around before we next talk, or do you think they're going to pressure him out? I think he's going to hang in.
I'm with you, dude. I think he's like, there's too much fight left in that fucking guy, dude. And he pulls off miracles and like just doesn't let anything stick. He doesn't care. Like, he's an unstoppable force of like everybody, like nobody likes you, and he's just like, and
I think he's actually maybe because of his family or what have you, but I think he's a cunning politician in some ways, which is bad. Like if he's the bad guy, right? You want them to be kind of more bumbling idiots. And he does kind of seem like a bumbling idiot in a lot of ways, but in terms of, I guess, winning until recently, I think he's definitely basically been the political winner in Canada. Now the walls are closing in, so to speak, because everyone can't stand him and everything costs a lot.
The finish line is right there.
10 million like people here, and there's nowhere for. Anyway, we don't need to rehearse all the people or things people hate about Canada these days. But it's just funny how it's all really kind of changed. I don't know how long. Like, it seems like it's only really been a little over a year that it's gone really bad for them.
Yeah, I don't know where it broke. I think it was, you know how they had those studies where it was just like, because they studied a bunch of people in northeastern U.S., and it was like roughly like fairly rich white neighborhoods, and what they did is they paid a bunch of like brown guys to just show up at the bus station or the train station and just kind of like be there. And the people that they were tracking and asking their opinions on race.
Sorry, where was this?
Somewhere in the northeastern United States. So it was like, you know, Ivy League territory, you know, bedroom community type shit. And they started putting more like visible minorities at the train station, the people that would like go there. And as the weeks went on, they became more and more like concerned about immigration.
I've noticed the same thing on like leftoid cesspools like Reddit, like on Canada Reddits.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you ever torture yourself by just going to see the kinds of things that people talk about. I'm banned at like every IP address in the world, so I can't get on to troll anybody. But yeah, there's some sacred cows that are being
there's some
stabbed.
There's some real Reddit karma being lost. Talking about Brampton, and you know, people are pretty upset. And so I think like it's that like meme of the man who just started to notice, the 38-year-old noticer. He's like,
yeah, the noticer is an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, so people have begun to notice, and they're just like, wait a second, there's an awful lot of these people.
Well, and there's a lot of like, you only really notice things when there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if everything's going like basically good, you don't notice things as much. Like, you're just kind of doing your thing. But when things are kind of damaged, then you start to notice, and there's been a lot of noticing in the past year, like with, even though all the kind of mainstream explanations on all sides are very misinformed about like inflation stuff, people notice, and they notice things are like quite a bit more expensive in Canada, but the
carbon tax is putting more money in your pocket,
but people don't seem to be noticing that. They're only noticing bad things, and again, like that's why Trudeau's having some hard times, because people are noticing. And like the immigration thing, like people haven't really noticed that the way they have previously, especially in more Trudeau friendly areas.
Yeah,
and again, they're like, oh yeah, I'm all in favor of this stuff until it affects me. So even the carbon tax is like grossly unpopular right now, even though Canadians have tended to be so pathetic that they're like, yeah, I support a carbon tax. And people were going along with it for a while. But now things are more expensive. People notice, and it doesn't matter like how much it increases. There's just a vague connection of, there's Trudeau, he's doing stuff.
There's a tax,
there's
and I'm poor.
Some kind of effect. And this is one of the reasons, at least, that I'm paying more for like bag of chips.
I think the immigration thing, when it comes to noticing, is because those tend to be in service industry jobs. And if you combine like incompetence with language barrier, people get like, that's an 8 out of 10 for people.
Yeah.
Like, I said no tomatoes.
And you know what?
They'll fucking lose it, dude. It doesn't matter how they're like
I never go to Tim Hortons, but apparently tons of Canadians are really into Tim Hortons, and they go and they're it's like, you know, kind of all low wage immigration labor type stuff, and so people like just see it more. I think that's part of the reason, because I see a lot of leftists complaining about immigration at Tim Hortons.
What about when they just take shits on the street? Do you think
that was a thing a few months ago in the summer? There was beach. There was the guy who took a crap in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And Rachel Gilmore said it was Photoshopped.
Yeah, that's AI.
And then video came out.
Yeah.
And it was a good Photoshop, but then the video came out, and then she got like, they all got quiet, and there was a politician who was like, "This is fake."
Yeah.
And then the video came out.
I think it was the mayor.
And no one talked about it anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was a Liberal MP.
Oh, okay.
But then there was the beach thing.
Yeah.
And
talk about getting farmed on Reddit, dude. Banned
like
instantly.
Beach.
Banned.
Going to the beach, taking a dump in a hole and covering it up.
It's only natural.
At like a public beach.
Just normal. Everyday things you do, you know, in nature.
So I think that was part of the noticing. People are noticing.
Yeah. People don't really like shit where they swim.
And so, like, I mean, 98% of the time, people don't have a good explanation of why things are terrible, because they're, again, poorly informed by one side or the other. But they do see things they can make comparisons. Like, it seems really different now than it did 5 years ago.
Dude.
And the immigration thing's crazy. Like, if you look at the charts, it's really crazy what they've done on numbers. And these big cuts, like, we're listening and we know our infrastructure and economy has to catch up, and so we're going to cut immigration numbers. And it's like not even a cut.
Yeah.
Because it's only like a tiny cut from the highest level it's ever been. So it's still like the highest levels it's ever been. The cut is very, very small in terms of the numbers they've got, right? So it's like they're trying to dial things back to say, oh yeah, we understand the issue and we're going to fix it.
We know what the problem is.
So we're still, you know, we've still got your back. We're fighting for Canadians, and we will continue fighting for Canadians. You know, the classic line.
The way he talks, dude.
They will always continue.
Yeah.
They are doing this and they will continue it.
We were there standing for Canadians.
You know, he can basically drag it out for a year if he wants to.
I thought the election was due March, or is it next October?
No. Jagmeet gets his pension at the end of February or early March or something.
Oh, dude.
But I don't think they have to have an election until October. But that's
when it's going to happen.
Watch for Jagmeet to pull the trigger.
He came out today and he was like, or yesterday, it was like, Trudeau's got to step down. I'm like, dude.
That's always the biggest, lamest thing to say. Like, this person must resign.
So much,
you don't like Jagmeet? And I have to insist that you pronounce it correctly. It's jug meat, apparently.
It's Jaggy.
Jaggy, yeah.
Jaggy. I don't know. Do
you think he's a brilliant politician?
No.
Or a total idiot?
I think I think it was Trudeau's idea to like form that little coalition. Like Trudeau, like Jagmeet was there like, oh fuck, dude, I got to run another election. Like, we're already broke. I've already like had to put my own money into this shit. We're fucked. Like, Maseratis don't grow on trees, right?
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like
it was Trudeau's idea.
It was his idea,
and he's
he was
been
just
playing him like a fiddle.
He's like, look, you got fucking 2 years. There was some guy who was just like, look, I'll pay your pension. I have $2 million cash. That's your entire pension. I will give it to you. Okay? Free and clear. Just call the fucking election. Just vote. Like, look, dude, you can get your money right now and fuck off.
He's hung in there so long, he's only got to go another month or two.
Dude, like, what are these, where are these people in 5 years, do you think?
Who, Jag Meat and Justin?
Where's Jaggy? Where's Justin?
I think Jag Meat will sail off into the sunset.
He'll never be heard from again?
No.
He'll just, like, get some middle management job somewhere and sit on a board.
Yeah. And then Justin will be, like, at his foundation, like, doing, like, the Hillary Clinton kind of grift.
Yeah. Would you pay money to go heckle Trudeau in 5 years?
What would you say to him? Do you think he'll be like Trump and he'll like go into hiding and then come back?
Where were the bodies? You know, where were the bodies? Or
What really happened at that?
At the high school?
At
Yeah.
that high school
How
job?
old was that girl, Justin? I noticed you spend a lot of time with Drake, buddy. How old was that girl?
Wow.
Dude, what a year.
What's really going on between you and Gomeshi?
Yeah. Like, now
What did Sophie know?
yeah. Dude, is she under NDA to not talk about you?
I bet you she is.
Well, yeah, if he's smart. And he is.
It's funny how Trump is making fun of him.
Dude, it's so good.
Nobody likes Trudeau anymore.
Yeah, Smith gave an interview today, and she was like, he does a bit of trolling. Like, it's a joke, dummy. Settle down. Do you think he took it personally? Because this is like a secondhand story. Like,
Oh, Trudeau?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, he definitely takes it personally. But he's, so we were talking about how he's been kind of a winner and conservatives have been losers. And one of the reasons is he's like kind of, part of his power trip has been like kind of defining what's respectable in terms of like sort of this leftoid Laurentian worldview.
Yeah.
But when he goes up against Trump, Trump defines respectability.
Yeah.
And so if you're the power move is to define what is respectable.
Yeah.
The weak move is to try to like
Yeah.
live up to the standard that your enemy isn't holding to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So when Trump is like making fun of him on the internet,
Oh, dude.
Justin has to go into like the be respectable position.
Yeah, he's got to rise
And
above.
take like kind of cheap shots like on low budget interviews where he's like, oh, those Americans, they don't vote for women.
Yeah, he's just like,
Unlike Canada,
Wow.
I'm a feminist.
I will always support abortion in Canada. Like, dude, no one was talking. What are you talking about? No one's.
I'm a feminist.
I love.
Imagine the words I am a feminist coming out of your mouth.
I am a feminist.
You're not a feminist.
Yeah, I mean, I love women.
What, you don't respect women? You're not a
I
feminist?
love them.
What, you don't think women should have rights?
I mean, they should have.
Being a feminist just means women deserve rights.
No, they should have less
So
and
why would you be against that?
less and more rights.
Women deserve equal rights. How can you be against that? That's like saying you oppose using all the world's resources for all the world's people.
That fucking guy, dude.
You don't oppose helping people, do you?
Yeah, you don't hate women, do you?
So what you're saying is you like don't think people should be better off?
So what you're saying is when you say no one should vote, you mean no women should vote. Is that what you're saying? Like, dude.
Yeah, so how couldn't you be a feminist?
I don't know. Depends. I mean, that's a moving target. It has
So
been for
another
a long
thing,
time.
because like Chrystia Freeland,
Yeah.
you remember her?
Yeah.
So she resigned, and she's like, and then
Yeah, I
and then
remember
the
her.
conservatives, they're like, oh
Yeah, you fucked.
yeah, Chrystia Freeland, oh, he fired another woman, some feminist.
Yeah,
It's pretty cringe.
they had to have
Cringe fest.
they hit. No, that's conservatives are so fucking cucked, dude. Like they're such fucking losers, and they're like, you fired another woman. What?
This guy doesn't respect women, and he says he's a feminist.
He fills his entire cabinet with women and then fires them all. Dude. Oh, remember Jody Wilson Rainbow?
So that's another like punk move
yeah.
or cuck move or whatever.
Boys.
That's like, oh, again, Trudeau one of the reasons he's been effective is because he defined the standards so effectively, and everyone else is like, oh yeah,
I want to give more.
Well, we
money.
have women in our caucus too.
I want to give more money to Ukraine. In fact, I want to take all your guns and give it to them.
You want to confiscate all those guns? But there's hunters in the Northwest Territory. Maybe we could get an exemption for them.
Yeah. It's like, dude, the Charter of Rights actually exempts most Indians anyways. Sorry.
So yeah, interesting the way Trudeau has exercised his dominance over the narrative until recently. And I think he's trying and he fails. Like no one, he's lost the zeitgeist. He is not the man of destiny.
No.
He's against what Hegel called the cunning of reason.
The real question is if Aaron O'Toole was still like, talk about somebody who was just like, I'm double vaxxed, you know, like,
I think we need to take the virus extra seriously.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear 4 masks, like I'm gonna run a mile in her shoes. Like, dude, settle down, Aaron O'Toole.
Hi guys, I'm Aaron O'Toole.
This is just like that, you know, like, remember how bad Andrew Scheer was? Like, dude, it's funny now, Andrew Scheer's like taking the limiters off, dude. Like he just like gets up in the House of Commons or like gets on Twitter and he's just like, these fucking guys.
Yeah, he smells blood, whereas before he was the designated loser and he like chose that position. He's like a little punk, but you can see how he'd be like a good henchman because he'd basically go along with whatever like the boss says.
He's a Starscream dude. He's Starscream.
And look, it's gone like Pierre's not like hardcore at all.
No, he's
a
pussy.
Even just the slightest shift away from the fuddy-duddy Scheer and Aaron O'Toole kind of approach has paid off pretty well for him, so it would seem.
If Aaron O'Toole was still leader of the Conservative Party,
Justin would be winning.
He'd still win, dude. Everyone's like, I'm going to vote Conservative. I can't afford anything. My money's on fire.
And you know, it's like there's so much about it that's so cringe, but I think it's effective. Like, I think cringe sells in politics.
Like being cringy or just not being?
Like, you know, like the cheesy slogans and stuff.
Does it?
I don't know. Maybe.
There's that Mexican girl running for Congress in the United States with like, she always does little videos of her like running with like an AR-15.
She's like, deport everybody.
Yeah, she's like, I'm
like arrest the politicians.
No, she calls everybody faggot. in her like, this, you know, this political message was paid for by me. Like, I support this message. And she's like, if you can't run a mile, you're a faggot. And then just like unloads an AR-15 while she's sprinting. Like,
I think what guys like Andrew Coyne are really sad about there's like people aren't respectable, quote unquote, anymore.
I thought he left for Blue Sky. I noticed he's still posting.
No, he's desperate for attention. But guys like him, they really lament the insults and the like the snarkiness,
the pettiness,
and stuff.
The absolute
like the pettiness.
Yeah.
No, politics should be respectable.
Yeah.
But I think it's healthy in the sense that it's I mean, historically, like, it's been a lot worse. Like, you can read about campaigns in the US, like I read a lot of like primary source kind of campaign advertising, you could say.
Buddy.
And it's pretty funny because they basically accuse their political enemies of things like bestiality and stuff, and it's just like there's no holds barred.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty funny. But anyway, this kind of a breakdown of respectability, I think people are noticing democracy is kind of like ridiculous in a lot of ways. And now like the ridiculousness is kind of it's more the clown world, right? It's like Trump. You could only have Trump in the world where democracy reaches this point. Trump's kind of like a vanguard of it, but there's something going on with just the way people make fun of things that they were, like, say, compare Aaron O'Toole where he like really respects the CBC.
Yeah.
Versus the current opposition.
Eats an
Pierre.
apple, says defund it.
Yeah,
Change
like, basically like makes fun of them.
Turn their buildings into low rent apartments. That's all it's good for.
So, not respecting the media is very healthy.
Do you know that
not respecting these politicians is very healthy?
This week, the CEO of CBC came out and said they need another $500 million. Sinking ship, buddy.
They should get it.
Yeah.
If you took over the government, would you turn the CBC into your personal propaganda station, or would you defund it and start a new one?
You can't trust these hoes, dude.
Well, you could keep like the cameramen.
How much money
would the blue collar techie nerds who maybe plug in cables and stuff? I don't know. Maybe they got to go too. But I'm saying, like, you fire Rosie, you fire Peter Mansbridge. Actually, I don't think he's there like for a million years.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not even alive anymore.
No, he's around.
He's probably got a podcast.
Peter Mansbridge. No, they all got to go. So, like, it's sort of like they were like, oh, here's the, like, everything else was by rotary. Like the talent just rotated and it was not special. It's the train conductors who keep everything on time here. And it's like, no, this is office, this is politics, and you managed to somehow not get fired for fucking 10 years. I think I know some things about you. You don't live on a battlefield and not kill anyone, right? Like, this guy they've been like, we really got to talk about how fucking racist all these conservatives are. Like, these truckers are terrorists. Like, the guy goes like, well, they're not actually, and they'd be like, boom, get out of here, you're fired. That guy survived in that environment, not saying, well, not really.
Yeah, because by definition, if you did, like, you weren't there.
Yeah, he's got to go. Sorry.
Yeah. So would you keep the apparatus itself and fill it with new people and then use it as your personal propaganda station? Or would you abolish it and just be like...
How much do you think it would cost to have Rachel Gilmore TikTok, like, report, like, be my, remembrancer? Like...
What is that?
Some...
Like, documents your day-to-day life?
Yeah.
She'd probably do it for, like, $16 an hour.
I think I could pay her a comfy wage, like $150, $180. She thinks she'd be fucking living, instead of like begging people to subscribe to your shitty newsletter that you never actually write.
She had a podcast. She had an episode with Jag Meat, interviewed in her apartment. Didn't you see?
No.
She's like a superstar.
Dude, he went over there?
Yeah, kind of weird. Did you think Hans had to stay in the bedroom the whole time?
No, he's in the chair. He's in the cuck chair, buddy.
There was... Jagmeet's sweater didn't look clean. It was like a black sweater.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was... Like... It looked like a dirty, gross sweater.
So what?
He's like a dirty, gross guy.
So? His hygiene is not... respectable to bring.
No, he's like a Nurgle worshiper.
he's
like Nenchi.
He's a Nurgling, dude. Nenchi is got the touch of fucking.
Nenchi is the great unclean one,
dude. He has got the touch of Nurgle on him.
Nurgle,
dude. So many gifts. Somebody should make a Nurgle Nenchi video. He looks like he always has that like sick Joe Rogan filter on him all the time.
Like when he took ivermectin and they put like a color filter on him on CNN to make him look like he was like dead.
It's the Nenchi filter now. Dude, he's sweating. Like,
dude, it's nasty.
He doesn't have anyone around him that'd be like, dude, you're not looking good. What if he's just like that brave?
I don't think he stands a chance.
What if he's... like, they always make those, like, romantic movies about, like, the man who's, like, standing up for what he believes in. And he goes out and he gives a great speech. He's just like, oh, we got to not worry about the border. We got to worry about emission caps. And then, like, the camera cuts off and he coughs into, like, a rag and you can see it's bleeding. He's got tuberculosis. And he's just like, damn it, not now. And he's like, I've got to save Alberta.
I've got to get my message out.
Dude, the people... I must work for the people. I must save them. He's like, who's was it Boxer? Who's the hardworking horse on Animal Farm?
I don't remember.
Or where any problem that existed on the farm, he was just like, I'll work harder. And eventually he just dies of a heart attack. Do you think Nenshi is that horse where he's just like, I got to save these people. I don't have time to really consider nutrition or, skincare or proper caloric maintenance of my frame, some form of physical activity. I have to save Alberta. And I don't care what it costs me or my body. What if that's what's going on? And
I don't know. I don't think he has that kind of
he has his
vision.
His weaker moments where he's just like...
I think he's really into himself and he just wants to be in politics.
Do you think he has poor impulse control? Like
yes.
most politicians?
Yes. But I don't think he's a drinker.
No, I think he's an eater, dude.
He's an eater and and miscellaneous.
Family annihilator. Dude, he just crushes boxes of donuts. That's how Nenshi gets down.
What do you think his favorite junk food is? Like that party mix stuff with the pretzels and the little Doritos and Cheetos?
I think he's really into Frappuccinos or something like that. Like 800, 900 calorie drinks. Or he's just like,
caramel sauce Frappuccino.
I earned this. It's been a long day defending the people. I earned this Frappuccino.
I don't hear very much about him. We're blocked by him on the internet, but now we can see his stuff. And
it's pretty
even
bad.
if you're blocked on the internet,
you still quote tweet
on the Twitter.com.
Dude, Twitter's the best.
Twitter has improved
a lot. Would you say, like anybody who doesn't think Twitter is better is like just kind of like they don't get it?
No, that's a red flag.
Yeah, like dude,
put it on the questionnaire.
There's a following tab.
Yeah.
Just follow, just read whoever you're following then. You don't need a For You section. Settle down.
For you.
Yeah, that's...
For you to make you seethe.
That's the rage algorithm. I check it every once in a while. And that's where you must encounter some of that stuff.
That's like the only one I use.
Really?
Yeah, because I want to see the dumbest stuff.
I don't. I use it as like a news aggregator.
Because there's some good stuff mingled in, but you get it's basically like the real cesspool.
Yeah.
Like you want a curated list of only things you've chosen to see.
Yeah.
Don't you want to see like the dark side?
No. My life is awesome, dude. Cat memes and fucking just like base like Christian memes about like you can't just forgive my sins, and he's like, yes.
Don't you think it's interesting to find out what idiots are saying on the internet just as like a curiosity to see what your enemies think about stuff once in a while?
I already know, dude.
I like kind of the trying to get into their heads sometimes.
I don't need to.
I don't need to. You don't need to do anything.
No, but it's like the mental exercise is not productive for me because I go like, imagine the dumbest thing you could believe.
You'll find someone who sincerely believes it.
Deep down. Like, what's the dumbest thing somebody could say to this? And like, that's what they're saying. Like, what's the dumbest thing Rachel Gilmore could do after being fired for the second time? She's like, I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
Oh, she's starting a podcast.
Yeah.
So that was the big news. I think that was today.
Yeah.
That's what we should be talking about.
Do you think this is
laid off? Rachel Gilmore, the great independent journalist.
Should we create a separate channel that just minute by minute critiques her podcast? How produced do you think it's going to be?
I couldn't. Probably not very good, but I can't really listen to her. Her
bad.
voice is really annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of, I'm sure, irritating speech mannerisms, but she's really hard to listen to.
Isms.
Like, kind of plays up the ditzy, stupid, I don't know. It's like a goofy character. It just feels like a put on and someone who's really, really dumb and shouldn't be talking about anything.
It just makes me think of like there was that definition, that cultural definition trickle down, or like cultural standpoints be it slang or references or mannerisms. And at the very, very tippy top was gay black men, which filtered down into black women, which filtered into white gay men, which filtered down into white bitches.
What is that? The hierarchy of oppression?
No, of culture, dude. Of like the way she talks and the way she acts is like a
okay, I see what you mean.
She's like a fag hag. Do you know what, like those women that are like unfuckable and only hang around gay men so that they can like have some relationship by proxy?
Like Sex in the City fans.
Yes. Or like women are like, I love going to drag shows because my friend Peter is dressing up as Cher. And then we're going to have Cosmos and then I'm going to go home alone again.
Wow.
You know.
I think,
and they feel that's how they feel safe with men.
I think you've described it.
That's her,
well.
dude.
And that's why. Did you see the video where some other independent journalist was talking to her on the street, asking her questions, and her boyfriend was there in a hoodie, and he looked really scared? I
watched the clips.
You got to keep up on your Rachel Gilmore lore. I'm a lore expert.
Dude, PoE, Path of Exile 2 came out this month, dude. That's all I've been doing. I've just been like living the greatest life. While you're over there getting upset, like, did you see what she did? And I'm just like, dude.
I'm not upset. I'm laughing. I just think it's funny. I think she's a character. She's like a she's like the Randy guy.
Yeah.
Like, remember, she's kind of a journalist version of Randy. Like, just these ridiculous characters who always get into these bad situations. And
she's like the do you know who Chris Chan is?
Yeah.
Or DSP?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
She's like the political, like the global news equivalent to DSP or fucking Chris Chan. Where you're
just
like,
it's funny. And she said she only made $6 on her YouTube channel last month.
That's way too much. Her CPM deal sucks.
She's making more than my video.
Yeah. Which is none.
I'm kind of against monetizing content.
I refuse to. I like art for art's sakes, dude.
I think there's better ways to...
Look, if it's your only avenue... Like, for example, like Mr. Beast, who gives a shit if he runs ads? He's blowing up cars. You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's giving people millions of dollars. And yeah, that shit is expensive. But if you're like, you know, I hate to use the word grifter, but like I'm going to call them content beasts of Twitter and YouTube. They're always like, check out the news about like how we're winning the culture war, or like this thing to get you upset. Yeah. Like Disney finally backed down.
A lot of it's like The View for like like younger people on the internet. It's like you watch it every day.
They're just so much worse.
They give you like a spoon-fed opinion from like people who are often pretty low quality, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is. Yeah, I hate the word too, but there's kind of a. It's like, remember when anti-SJW content was like on fire?
Yeah.
Like back, this is like 10 years ago, like 2014 and 15. And then remember like when it started to get a little tired?
I see the arc goes like internet atheism, anti-feminism, Gamergate, anti-woke, and like now it's at this like weird crux where it's like, what's going to be the next thing where it's just like, I'm like, because these are all residuals to Gamergate, and they're like, well, they're getting rid of Laura Croft's tits. Like, I'm very upset about this. I'm like, dude, I don't want to watch a 20-minute video.
Dude, like, there's guys who make videos like a video every day about like the new Disney movie being woke and shit, and it's like, oh my god. But there was there was a lot of careers built on
the
anti-SJW era, and then they had to keep it going. and
Why?
varying levels of success. But usually it wasn't. Usually they moved beyond kind of like the crappy level Oprah content.
Some people did. Some people. I think Sargon is probably the best example of that.
He's pretty good. He's been interesting over the years.
Yeah, and well read, at least, sorta.
Put some effort in. He reads books.
He burns some calories, dude.
And you can tell when people read books and when they don't.
He at least shaves.
Do you think Rachel Gilmore reads books?
Yeah, I think she does. I think she reads airport books. You know what I mean?
So yeah, there is a thing now in terms of the online material. Some people need to kind of like come up with something new to do.
Yeah. Like, what's next?
I don't know. A resurgence of do you think the culture is going through a shift or a pivot point in the age of McTrump?
Do you think it's gonna?
Do you think there's a vibe shift?
Yes. The easiest way to generate kind of this content or like views from that is to tell people about some shit that they already agree with without knowing about. In the same way that you report a news story based on, something that everyone can have an opinion on. You don't report a news story that everyone's like, yes, I agree, that's evil.
Totally.
You report a story about like, check out this super hot teenager or like 20-something-year-old who guns down a, CEO, and now he's on the run. Everyone's like, I think he's a folk hero. And everyone's like, dude, he murdered someone. Like, what do you... Shot a guy in the back in cold blood. And they're like, but his back was sore. Like, dude, fuck off. Dude, he murdered some, but everybody can have an opinion on this thing. Right? It's just like the drones. Everybody can have an opinion.
Cycle.
Everyone's like,
what do you think about the drones?
I think it's aliens. And it's like, I think it's gamma sensors.
It's Iranians.
Yeah. So you report news that everybody...
Probably Trump.
Trump said, shoot them down. Guess what Trump said next? Dudes, I hate it.
And you gotta have a thumbnail with like a guy making a soy jack face.
You know what I think will be... What I think will be next.
They got him. They got Trump.
Honey, bring your boyfriend in here. They got him. They finally got him. 38 guilty charges. They got him.
Did you see he went to McDonald's? He wasn't even really working there.
Do you see RFK holding that bag of fries? He said he never ate McDonald's. Like, dude. I love now RFK has become a meme of the like he's the soon guy. When somebody's like some fat person is like, oh, check it out. Somebody was like, yeah, we hired a fat acceptance department to the city of San Francisco, and somebody just posts a photo of our RFK that just says soon. Oh, I love it. No, what I think is next is the return of the connoisseur.
I think you're right, because I've been thinking about this, and I don't know if you're kind of going down the same trajectory, but let me just throw this in here quickly. A lot of like the guys who make like a video every day about the new like Disney Princess Snow White movie and how it's like woke or that kind of stuff, like that kind of thing. I feel like they don't really like anything, and you could put something awesome in front of them and like they couldn't even do it anymore. Like because their business model is to like, be entertaining and criticize everything.
Yeah.
Keep that content machine going. And so things can't really be good for your business model to be really good.
Yeah.
But I think that's sort of like at the anti-SJW stage where it was getting a bit tired. And now you got to get the connoisseur, the guy who likes things, the guy who loves things, the guy who's like, this is so awesome. Let's talk about
authenticity. Now, people already have a nose for it, but the problem is there's too much content and no one to trust. Right?
Yeah, I don't trust anybody.
Fuck him. Needle drop.
The opinions are... He's the worst. He's
Absolutely.
the worst YouTube person I've ever seen.
I think if I could... that scene in Fight Club? They're like, if there's anyone you could fist fight, living or dead, who would it be? Like, I'd kill Anthony Fantano and then fist fight him. He's just so... Oh, I hate him, dude. he does do a really good, because like the job is hard, dude. That's
you
a
churn
hard
stuff out all the time.
And dude, it's
And miserable.
It's like describing the taste of chocolate to people, and you're just like, smooth. Like, what else do you got? And you're like, oh, hints of hazelnut.
I used to be one of the top music reviewers on the internet. You might not realize that, but I lived this.
Okay.
And you have to, there was a method of writing in that world that was totally different from like the way I would write in a more, I guess, good way now. But you have, it's like you have to kind of describe like riffs the way you would talk about like, this chocolate tastes good.
Yeah.
And you have to, there's a lot of like literary embellishment, and you're trying to evoke, I think if you're trying to do it well, you're trying to evoke like, cause you'd be like, oh, well, it moves from this scale to this scale, and it's in like 5/8 time signature, and then it, goes back to 4/4, and you get like whatever, a chugging riff or something.
Yeah.
You got to give like the vibe of it somehow. Trying to describe what it sounds like, but in not necessarily like a purely physical way.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you mean, but
I'm just saying,
worst.
I'm just saying, like, I respect how difficult that position
He's doing it a long time.
He has.
He probably has a few fallbacks though.
Yeah, and Childish Gambino's new album harkens to a sense of desperation we all have.
That channel should be deleted
because of Trump. Go. Because of Trump.
In the age of McTrump.
Yeah, dude, it's like, settle down. I feel that like Spectre Sound Studios does that. He started doing that. Like, he's always just been this fat sound engineer, and he's just like, pickups don't matter. Your speakers are the only thing that matters. Like, everything is bullshit. These guitars are garbage. Like, just this fat old guy who, honestly reviewed gear, and he's a sound engineer. Like, he's living what he's talking about.
So this, then
he just starts talking about Trump, and I'm like, dude, fucking kill yourself, dude. Unironically, stop that.
And so you need the connoisseur now to come in, like the person with the discernment, and like a gatekeeper almost, someone who's gonna like help you with things that are good and bad, but the thing is that requires a certain like it's a constructive process, whereas the leftist era, which of course we're still in, it's about like tearing everything down, like this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this is bad because of patriarchy, this is bad because of women, because women don't have rights in this movie.
I noticed there was two women.
Like, all the stories have to be torn apart.
The two women
Tolkien is awful.
The two women in this scene only said one word without a man present. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. It's the diminishment of
art for politics,
higher realities. Like,
I think it's
like, oh, love is just chemicals in your body.
Yeah, whatever.
Pussies.
Yeah, they're rationalists. They'll never understand romance or idealism. They'll never understand. They may not even understand what love is.
I don't think there are rationalists, because I think rationalism and aesthetic appreciation are, there's actually an important connection to them. I think instead of rationalism, because I think last 100 years, especially, you've had like kind of the revolt against reason, so to speak, in a rationalism sense. And the leftist in particular is extremely relativistic and empiricistic in its orientation, which is basically the opposite of rationalism. And that's why they hate beauty so much, and they want to like deconstruct everything. They don't want to put it together and see it like for a whole that points to a higher truth. So leftism is like that entropy force. It's breaking things down. It's like the chaos force, like dissolve the meaning instead of building it up. Whereas rationalism is about finding those necessary connections between like the lower pieces that point to like something higher.
Transcendence is just a word you made up. Transcendence is just a biochemical process. Like, dude, you don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, normally in these scenarios, you would pity these people. So why is it that I find myself hating them?
So it's like it's because it's childish. So like think of the academy. It's like kind of cut off from the real world. Like we think of it's not building up to something higher. It's about like tearing things down into like their tiniest little pieces. So you'll get people who dedicate their entire lives to like the pricing theory of Ethiopian like exotic nuts or something.
Yeah.
And you don't get like the type of like epic scholars that you used to that were like really experts in multiple fields and stuff. Because again, like the big thinker that sees things more from, again, kind of like a right-wing perspective in hierarchical terms is going to be building up like system building basically versus like decomposing things and breaking them up into smaller and smaller pieces, which is like kind of the academic side of things. It's immature and it's shoot, what was the original question?
Why do I hate them instead of
because
pity
they're
them?
childish, because they're like it's almost like not their fault, they're just not growing up, because they built this like play world for themselves.
It's that weird difference between sympathy and disgust. So it's like I don't feel bad for them, I find them disgusting. Like they don't get it, and that is revulsion. Like it causes revulsion in me, not pity.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Right?
Well, same thing.
Like they're just like, oh, that's the material world is. Who's that fucking loser? Black guys always be like, oh, billions of stars. I'm the inheritor of Carl Sagan. Like,
was it that Billy
Tyson.
Carson guy?
No, Tyson.
That guy's the worst.
He's like,
who? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
That fucking guy.
All the most respectable black men have 3 names, you know. Like, you know it.
What was Rodney King's middle name?
No, I don't know. It's like
they burnt down an entire fucking city for him. What was his middle name?
Like that something Miles Dyson guy.
Oh,
or Ibram X Kendi. Or they've always got to have 3. Or it's not just the black man. It's also you'll get that like Nicole Hannah Jones for like the 1619 Project and such. They've always got the triple names. Or that MSNBC lady.
Or like school shooters.
3 names.
3 names?
You gotta have 3 names. If you're gonna be famous.
John Wilkes
Lee
Booth.
Harvey Oswald.
John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, an assassin always needs 3.
That's like super old, dude. Like,
weren't they saying that about the first Trump shooter? Didn't he have 3 names?
No, they didn't give him 3 names. What is his name?
I thought they were doing that 3 name thing. I don't remember his name.
No one remembers his name because he fucking missed. Pussy.
Did he though?
Dude, the amount of I've never felt so like on the other side of schizo than at that time.
What do you mean when somebody tried to assassinate
the
Trump in the summer?
Yeah. I've never felt so like, holy shit, I'm normal. Or like, oh my God.
What do you mean? Because this was quite a few months ago at the time we're talking now.
Yeah, I recall everyone's like, oh, it's a
dude.
He cut
hang
his.
on. The assassin had 3 names.
Oh, did he? What was it?
Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Oh, no one remembers it, dude. It's not real. It's not even real. 3 names.
Anyway, go back to what you were saying. That's 3 names.
Yeah.
All these guys have to have 3 names.
Was it hyphenated?
Wait a second.
Was it double barrel?
Wait a second. What's going on here? If the assassins need 3 names, and
respectable black
the grifting, respectable leftist black men and women have to also have 3 names. What is it about the 3 names?
I think it's some source of reverence. It's like lower upper class people like to have hyphenated names in order to indicate like their upper class status. So when you get married, you illustrate how progressive you are by not taking the last name of your husband. You hyphenate your 2 names for your children.
Okay, but hang on. Go back to when you were saying you were having like a schizo moment.
No. I realized watching other people be schizo, and I was like, dude, that's what I'm like.
Oh, because of all the crazy conspiratorial
They're like,
theories?
he cut his ear. Like, it was glass.
It was fake.
It was fake. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
You can see where he cuts his ear in the
Yeah.
video frame 477.
yeah, look at this slowed down. Like, that's him, razor blade. He was in the WWF. He knows how to work a razor. Like, dude. I've never felt so sane and normal.
It actually, I agree. I had a similar experience because I felt like some people had to, like, they had to see the world that way because they had to, I don't know, what is it? What am I trying to nail down? It's it's part of like, because I love a good conspiracy, but then there's the kind of the like really, the mentality that we saw here that both of us kind of tested our patience a bit. And it's kind of like, I don't know, you need to be different, or that thing where you need to know something no one else knows. Like, I don't know, like you have to be
smartest man in the room.
It's like esotericism. Yeah. It's like secret you have to know.
Well, if I put the shooter's name in the tetragrammatron or gematria, and if you look up his name, it actually equals 666.
And in ancient Freemasonry texts uncovered in 1697.
And if you divide it by 33 degrees, like, dude,
that's even like, it's even way more extreme than what we're talking about.
Is numerology astrology for schizos?
I don't know. It depends what kind of numerology.
You know exactly what kind of numerology I mean.
I don't know. I think like there's gematria in the Bible.
I just want to say,
and it's crazy. Like,
is it?
Yeah, some of the stuff people find, there's no way it's an accident, and it's really, really cool and interesting.
So but
some people do. There's the whole like Bible code thing. That's crap because that's using like English translations. You have to use obviously the proper text. And there's a guy, Labuschagne. You should read his papers. It's really, really interesting. And some of the stuff is super obvious and fairly straightforward, like patterns. And there's not a lot of mystery. And, there's some more speculative stuff. And he's a fairly conservative scholar in that sense. But it's really, there's some really cool things. But overall, like, there's definitely cool stuff in there. But in terms of, like, the numerology of, like, doing like magic or fortune telling or whatever.
But I mean numbers of significance that imply a deeper meaning that one cannot consider to be accidental or simply a post hoc kind of, oh, check it out, it's the number 21 again, cool.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's certain patterns that happen or they appear, and sometimes, I think they're meaningful, but I don't know. Like, most of that stuff's just schizo nonsense.
Meaningful how?
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, you're like, it must be significant because it's a pattern.
No, but the thing is, we remember things because of significance, or we notice things at all because of significance. They're just, even they can be like super abstract and subconscious.
A lot of Toyotas on the road.
Yeah.
But like, and look, I'm all about it.
But so the thing is, like, it's like you notice certain things in your day and you don't notice other things.
Yeah.
And
this is like unavoidably noticeable. The number 23, there it is again.
Yeah. So and
33.
But it's like
degrees
your mind
masonry
that creates the meaning in places for a lot of things. Like, you can impose it, or you can kind of like detect it or perceive it.
How do you tell people about this without being schizophrenic?
You can't.
You can't.
You're auto schizo even talking about
it's the filter. It's like I tried to explain. Oh fuck! I'm so stupid. I tried to explain the GCP dot to my wife.
The what?
Oh, you don't know about the dot? The global consciousness dot.
No. Is it a WTO project?
No, it's just some it's like
or World Economic
Dude,
Forum?
It's like a Terry Davis guy fucking like interpreting the word of God through random numbers. So this now I can't tell anybody about it. No one's allowed to know. Like, only schizos.
It sounds just like schizo stuff.
It's super schizo stuff. But like,
and this is what the Trump assassination thing spawned.
No, but it's
weird.
You don't know about the dot?
No, I've never heard about it. But yeah, I lost a lot of patience with what we could pejoratively call the conspiratard around the initial Trump assassination attempt.
They were just a different breed of conservative, like conspiratard. Like the true schizos were just like, oh my god, they're gonna kill. Like there's another shooter.
But it was like there was because politics is about kind of the narrative, right? Because it's kind of like a cheap religion replacement.
Yeah.
So it's like the story or the narrative is important, and like rather than go with like the better story, they have to pick like the stupidest story imaginable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or are they like here's your story. Crazy leftist shoots at Trump and kills like a wholesome firefighter family man thing.
Yeah.
So like crazy leftist like
commits political violence.
Yeah. But that's a good story if you're against the left.
Yeah.
So and then you throw it all away to come up with the craziest things you can imagine.
You want to know why?
No.
Because what was the first thought that ran through your head when you heard about it? I can tell you mine.
Let me think. My first thought when that happened, because when I first heard it, like it had happened like moments before.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, the danger was averted.
Yeah.
So in that sense, so when I heard about it, I'm like, almost, of course, like not surprising at all.
You know what my first thought was?
I don't know.
He's going to win.
Oh, yeah. That was part of it, too.
That's exactly what you, like, that thought.
Because that was like a story moment.
They tried to kill him. They couldn't. He's going to win.
Yeah, and he's the man of destiny.
Not just that. It's like, that's America.
Yeah, it's the story. It's the man of destiny thing. Like
no, it's like the people of America. Like if you try to, like if you, it's the crucible, and people are like,
no, like the story wouldn't make sense at that point. Like of course he has to win. Like he won, almost by accident in a way the first time. Then he was defeated. Like they tried to destroy him. Then he was defeated. And then they kept going after like his associates.
Yeah.
And they tried to destroy him with all their legal cases. And then they tried to assassinate him. So like they're trying to take him out. So he lost. So he won. He lost. Like the. I don't want to overstate like what Trump is or what he means because he's kind of like a screwball crazy guy, right? And but he's like the hero of the story in a weird way.
Yeah.
So the hero, it's like Empire Strikes Back. It's like cheesy to use this kind of like framing, but it's
the hero of a thousand faces, dude. How's it cheesy?
Exactly. Yeah. So abstract it more.
You're not talking to a jaded fucking needle dropper.
No,
here.
You're right. Yeah, needle droppers have got to go.
Okay, stop speaking for people who don't exist.
Yeah.
It's me.
So it is that story. It's like the hero of a thousand faces, or at least coinciding with it in a meaningful enough way. So you're defeated, or you like die, you go into the underworld.
Fought the dragon,
and then boom, yeah.
You fought the dragon. You saved your father from the underworld,
dude. Oh, he's the worst.
No, that's why we love JP.
Yeah.
So of course he had to win, especially once it reached that point, because that's when you sent the final boss against him.
Yeah.
Like the sniper, not like some crazy guy who rushes the stage.
Yeah.
Not some phony, like totally kooked legal case in New York about defrauding the bank or something.
This is real.
Like, this is the moment.
This is blood.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. So
this is blood on the ground.
See, and that's kind of similar to the thing I thought too, because I thought, well, of course they did this. Of course, like, I'm not surprised this happened at all.
Yeah.
And then on your side, you think he's going to win. And those are two sides of the same thing, because you're making a kind of a proposition about the story, and my thought was also a proposition about the story. Like, this had to happen just the way your thought. You're like, this has to happen now. Yeah. And it's not like whether you want it or not. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is the story that's unfolding.
Like,
it's what Hegel called the cunning of reason.
Fuck that dude.
No, it's heavy. And you know what else really cinched it?
What?
The McDonald's thing.
Dude, it was so good.
Like the McDonald's thing, because you never know. You're like, they'll cheat, or like they don't want to win. They'll do something. But McDonald's
That's what I thought.
McDonald's was like,
dude,
the victory feast almost, because McDonald's is very also symbolic and also American, if you will. And you think about snotty progressives. The way they would talk about people who enjoy McDonald's is the way they would talk about Trump supporters. Like, they're stupid, uneducated, fat, retarded.
It's the same way they talk about people who
we need to tell them how many calories are in the food.
Who work at McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. They hate
everyone
those
that
people.
Works there and goes there.
Yeah, exactly. And because Trump went there, like that was like also an interesting kind of a meaningful, more than just like a campaign stop. Like there was something really meaningful there, because not only is McDonald's, like the way they used to speak about like lower class blacks like 100 years ago is the way they talk about Trump supporters, right? Or people who go to McDonald's, or people who work at McDonald's, right? But then McDonald's also like brings people together, dude, because I always say
the only thing that would have made it better is if he snuck a fry while he was prodding.
No, he was probably trying to do a good job.
Yeah. And he's just like the guy's just like, yeah, here's how you do the fries. And he's like, I'm fucking good at this, dude.
Yeah, and you can tell he doesn't have total disdain for these people.
Yeah.
Like, look at the way, say, like, Jody Gondek. Imagine if she went to McDonald's. I don't think she would. I think she hates everybody. And Trump is like a man of the people, for better or for worse.
Remember when
think about it. He's the guy who lives in mansions and
gold
got like the supermodels, the gold toilets, and like people like, Trump's my guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Here's him flipping a burger.
At least on certain, but and that's the thing, because he's this kind of. It's another part of the way he's kind of like a chaos agent. It's like it's the frog thing. It's like the Pepe metaphysics. It's like Trump lives in multiple worlds at the same time. Like, in the one hand, he's like upper class, but on the one hand, he's kind of lower class too. And he kind of is like a weird mixture. And it's because he's like this chaos force, right? He's like an interesting hero, because he almost isn't there to bring order. He's almost like a jester character.
He's a Gracky brother, dude.
He's like an upside down Turner character. I don't know.
What do you think about, because it's like authentic pandering.
It's great. And what about, remember the Republican National Convention when Hulk Hogan got up and he's like, Trumpomania!
Yeah. What you gonna do, brother? Dude, it was awesome.
It is so cringe, but so like wholesome at the same time. It was very weird. Like, I have to say.
See, that's why I think the next trend is
liking stuff.
Yeah. When you restore hope, you eliminate like cynicism. When you destroy cynicism, like you reintroduce meaning.
Interesting. I think that's heavy.
Like, think about our generation and what it was to have a personality. Like, or more specifically, like, you defined your personality by taste. What bands you listen to. And we still do in some ways. Like, what books have you read?
I do that to people.
What philosophers have you read? Have you read Hegel?
Have you read any philosophers?
Are you familiar with the cunning of reason?
Any kind of like stoicism doesn't count.
Cucks.
Yeah, because it's like,
wait, I've read Marcus Aurelius.
If somebody said I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and that's all I need to know, I figured that guy's good. That guy's fine. But if somebody's like really into the Stoics,
really into the stoicism,
cope shed, hanging out in the cope shed. I don't know. I think so. Yeah, we're gonna see I think a reintroduction of enthusiasm about art, literature, and media.
No, I think as you can see around us, I've got a lot of media, like physical media, wall-to-wall shelves.
An uncomfortable amount.
Yeah, don't even like go into details
lot.
on the internet, please.
It's a
I don't
lot.
want anyone to know about this.
It's
I don't
sad.
want anyone to know what's going on.
There's a
down
lot
here.
of
Don't say it.
there's a lot of
Don't say it.
Chinese cartoons.
I don't have any cartoons.
Chinese cartoons.
I got some Chinese comic books,
Chinese drawings.
but I have also metal CDs.
you know.
And I think it helps to have physical stuff. I'm sure we've talked about this a million times because I'm like an old boomer tard now, and I blab about the good old days. But
Gay. Gay.
I think it helps to have
An
this
object?
collection, right?
Yeah.
It's like it goes back to the old kind of manly pastime of collecting things.
Yeah.
And most men like have some kind of collection.
Yeah.
But and it's a way you develop expertise. Like you collect things, and over many years you learn a lot about your hobby or your collection, right? Or the world your collection comes from. And you develop expertise, and you become like a
Autistic.
discerning, autistic critic.
Yeah.
By nature. And it's just kind of the natural course of that development. But it seems hard to be a collector of like files on the internet.
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah. I mean,
I used
to
to-
be like, hey, check out this rare MP3 I got.
I have those.
I have those too.
I have those, dude. And they're my pride and joy, dude. I'm like, check this out. This is a fucking demo tape that I pulled off of not MP3s on Something Awful in the year 2001. This is an alternate take.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Never made the album, never made a fan album, never be released. Not even in Japan.
So I think that'll be good because I've gotten a little tired of, as much as I love hating things, especially like the big flops of our time have brought me a lot of pleasure in some ways. I'm kind of tired of everything being kind of crap and everyone complaining about how crappy it is. And it just seems like unsatisfying now. It was fun for a while.
Yeah.
But
You don't want to eat your prog slop and love it?
no, and it's not even like fun to like eat the anti-prog slop.
That's the thing. That's where I knew it had to turn. At some point, somebody has to be not a discerner, not a refiner, but simply a
Like a critic.
no.
Isn't that what a critic is supposed to do?
No, I don't want this guy to critique shit. I just want him to collect. I want him to have a collection of media and content. You know who is the best example of this? Super Eye Patch Wolf.
Yeah, so he makes
He makes
he likes things.
he likes things.
Yeah.
Okay, and so not like if you were hip and normal and cool, you would like this too. He's just like, here's all the things that are awesome about this. And he's just like, you should watch wrestling. And I'm going to spend the next hour explaining how brilliant wrestling is. And everyone's just like, harumph. And he's just like, no, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kenny Omega.
Yeah, I like people who like things. Unless you like something I don't like. Then you gotta go.
They got to go. I like human rights.
You gotta go. I'm not into rights.
Human rights.
I'm into human wrongs.
Maybe we've just got to like start being the anti. I don't want to be the anti-Fantano. I want to like another really good one. Acculturation. That guy. He's fucking amazing.
I don't know what these are. I only know what
I've
Fantano is. And
I've sent you some videos of his where he's just like, here are all the definition. Like here is the actual definition of tech death metal, and he's just like he'll go from like 1985 to recent albums and like here's a 30-second clip and this defines it, and he's just into shit. He's just into it.
Yeah, I think I watched the black metal one and I disagreed with some of the points, but he's into it.
He's into it. He's here. And like there's an another YouTube guy, Art Chad. Art Chad's pretty good.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. He's a faggy Torontonian, but like I dig him. He knows who Nick Land is, so that's good enough for me.
You know who Hans is?
Hans.
Rachel Gilmore's boyfriend musician. He's got some songs on Instagram.
Are you into it?
Some of the worst music I've ever heard.
How bad we talking?
Like trash.
Like, are you Fantanoing Hans right now? Are you gonna bitch
I don't know
about,
what to compare it to. It's just like lame.
Are you gonna bitch about composition?
No, it's like lame. It's not even worth talking about because it's so lame and forgettable. Like, it's not even bad enough to be interesting.
Do you think that the album is the only acceptable manner in which someone can be evaluated as a musical artist?
No, not really. Like,
sure?
Often the one-hit wonder is
But it was
terrible.
It was on
of
an
course.
album. It was on an album or an EP, but like the album, beginning to end.
No, I think
The idea.
I think, well, the album format in terms of existing for a reason, like, you should be judged by an album. Like, that's
Yeah.
the unit of judgment to me. Of course, some songs or whatever are going to be better than others on that album, but you should take it as a whole, as it exists in that way for a reason. Even if maybe it's like commercial, because like, oh, we need 60 minutes because we've got 60 minutes on our format, or
Yeah.
there's different circumstances that kind of shape the way it turns out. But that is the creative unit for music to me, because like, I'm a metal guy, so for the most part, the kind of music I like, it's more of an album orientation.
Now we need movements, dude.
Movements, like pro metal movement,
No, just
anti Fantano movement.
no within a
I call it Antifa.
within a body of work of a composition. Traditionally, you could also break it down by movements, which is like themes and sections.
Well, it's a really good album is put together in a certain way where the songs have a certain flow. Like, like you listen to a good Blind Guardian album, and they're very good at ending the albums with like often the best, most awesome song on the album, for example. And that's that's something that only has meaning because it's in terms of the whole album. Because if it's just the song by itself, it'd just be an awesome song.
Yeah.
But as an ending song, it's also like a reaction or product of what came before it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap. I don't know anything. Did you know I used to be one of the top music writers on the internet? So I'm an expert of music writing.
All right, I have this theory.
Do you think we all wear masks?
Yes,
Anyway, what's your theory?
it's called the simulacrum. Yes, we all it's pretty easy to figure out.
Do you think the mask is more real than what's underneath?
It's still the same thing. It's just like saying, like, when you put face paint on something, is it something else? Like, no, it's still the thing.
What's your theory, Schizo?
No, that's my theory about like people's preoccupation with like Trump news.
I don't know. You said you were going to bring up a theory. Is this the one?
This is the one. Because we're talking about, like, is Trump the man of destiny? Like, is he... Like, deep down, I think people want a Sulla. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, they do.
No, I mean, I don't know what you mean.
Oh, the Republicans rotten to its core, and we need... whatever, I forget what Sulla's first name was. He was a general. He marched on Rome. He took it over. He became a dictator. He was the first one that really did it, like, by force. I don't know whether, like, Cincinnatus doesn't count. He was, like, there for, like, twice for, like, a couple days and saved some Romans and then went back to his farm. This guy marched, and he was like, fuck all these guys, and started just proscribing people. They would go down to the fucking town center and just find out who to fucking kill that day.
Sorry, what's this? So
This is
you're
wrong.
saying this is what people want?
Yes. They wanted Trump to be a Sulla. They want him to, cut off the hands and nail nail them to the fucking House of Congress. The people that they consider to be the traitors to the Republic.
I think that's kind of true. I think the average Trump fan is way more hardcore than Trump and wants to see like his enemies crushed.
Yeah. So
and Trump, I don't know if he's
he doesn't have
got
it
the
in him.
stomach for it.
No,
he
don't
doesn't
have
the
it in him.
stomach for what's required.
Well, most people consider it like they're like, oh, this is kind of like a cash grab. The first people you killed are people who fucked with you, and the rest of them are you're just killing people to take their money so that you can like give it to your soldiers. Does your missus listen to true crime?
No.
Do you know anyone that does?
Over the years, we've watched a couple serial killer documentaries and a couple cult documentaries. I don't know if that counts. Because most of these cults are basically criminals, but not like true crime. They're like, oh, I'm getting into the investigation and like...
Yeah, like they...
I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
I kind of distinguish what...
Here's the story of the Night
I would say
Stalker
probably not into true crime as like a thing.
Dude, it's huge. It's huge.
Massive.
People love it. And I remember I was like, so what's the deal? Like, why is it so interesting? Because I find it like kind of disgusting. Not so much what is happening.
Pornographic?
It's coomers. They're coomers.
They're like true crime coomers?
Yeah.
True croomers?
True coomers, dude.
Troomers?
Croomers.
True croom.
True croom.
I need to croom.
I'm gonna croom. And so, like there's political coomers and but this is true crime, and it's not just like titillating in the sense that they're like, and then he like chopped off her fingers and dissolved her body, and oh, check out this evil that this man did, and people become like so fascinated with it. And it's not just like exercising something where they're just like, okay, it's sort of like, imagine you grew up in a town where like every day I just told you how fucking evil bears were, and like told you about like the horrors of a bear attack, and like every day I'm just like, and then his claws reached into his stomach and he could feel, like I just talked about bears killing people for hours every day.
You'd be a boomer. I'm gonna boom.
I'm gonna boom. I'm gonna voot. And then the USS Liberty was shot at again.
Like, people crave gory details.
Yeah. So if I filled you full of this stuff, and then you saw a bear, there's two things. One, you would kind of like know what's up. You'd be kind of like sort of mentally prepared for. You'd be aware of what could happen to you around that bear. And it's mostly women that love true crime. And it's this like weird, I don't want to call it like psychosexual, but like this weird like...
Women are into dark, weird stuff.
They are, dude. They're into like hot dudes who kill CEOs. They're like into it, dude.
They're into like werewolves and vampires and stuff.
Dude,
maybe
there's
it's all part of the same package.
One of the most popular books that recently is about like a chick who falls in love with a fork. Yeah. There's an entire book section called "Okay, Hear Me Out." They're like, I'm gonna fuck.
That sounds horrible.
I'm gonna fuck a gargoyle, dude. Anyways, I feel like all this like preoccupation with like what Trump is gonna do, like Project 2025, like he's gonna make it impossible.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna get rid of the gays, and they're just like, because I asked him about it, and he's like, dude, there's some stuff in there that kind of makes sense. I don't agree with all of it. I was just mad that they put it out there and like associated with me when I didn't have anything to do with it. But like all these stories about Trump, I think, and we'll notice it in Canada too, because they're like, do you know what he's going to do next? Did you hear what Trump is going to do?
People like the tariff thing. It's like, we got to talk about the tariff.
Like, dude, you don't know shit. Rob Ford's just like, I'm going to cut off the energy. Like, dude, you're fucking retarded.
The prime example of it was kind of like the whole Russia scandal thing, because like people were obsessed with like crazy detail. Like this guy talked to this guy on like March 18th and they were at like a lunch together and like, whoa.
Yeah.
And just this obsession over kind of these tiny little details and constructing this big narrative, like building the case, like the true crime, like what really happened. And probably the same impulse in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, the same people that'll call Seymour Hersh a fucking liar to his face. Yeah, those guys. So, I think this preoccupation with like Trump tapped into this like loop that exists with, like the dangerous titillation of like, oh my God, can you imagine if we had a dictator? Oh my God, he's going to make it illegal to be gay. I'm going to resist. I'm going to be a resistance fighter. I'm going to have 10 abortions. I'm going to gay marry everyone under the age of 10. Like, I am going to fight Trump tooth and nail.
It's like a cosplay. It's the LARP. It's like people who are really into Harry Potter and Marvel and stuff. It's like you gotta put yourself into some story because it goes back to the whole narrative and story kind of thing. People need to put themselves into something, and they've constructed a pretty epic. If you're a crazy like leftist prog libtard kind of guy, you've constructed this epic story around Trump as like Darth Vader, and you're fighting him, and that's a story a crazy leftoid would want to be part of.
I feel like there's
and true crime. It's like the true crime thing. You put yourself in there because you feel like I'm like solving it. I'm like the detective.
No. I think they see themselves as the victim in this true crime. Watching themselves be victimized by this powerful man. It's the reason why they're all obsessed with The Handmaid's Tale, where they're just like, oh no, a rich man's going to hold me down and rape me. Oh no.
They're like,
they're gonna force me to have a kid.
Yeah, they're gonna.
They're like forced birthing me.
Is that realistic?
They're gonna make me have babies. Oh no! Like no, I think yeah, it's like
even if my stepbrother molests me, I'll be forced to birth.
Yeah, like so they're like, it's like weird.
It's gross. It's like a Coomer thing.
Yeah,
it's like a weird.
Like, do you know any?
It's like, no, this werewolf is going to ravage me.
Oh no! Oh, it's a vampire who's gonna like become obsessed with me. Trump's gonna hate how gay I am, and he's gonna fucking pass all these laws. I'm only gonna be able to be gay after dark.
Oh yeah, you're onto something.
I think it's there, dude.
There's
like
something there.
The weird like. And it's not like, oh, it's not just like I need to be a victim. It's like titillating that this strong man would like ravage them with the law, you know, like, oh my God, they're going to be wearing not like Hugo Boss uniforms again and marching.
We gotta be like the Avengers when they fought Thanos.
No, they wish, dude. It's like this weird.
Trump's got the Infinity Gauntlet.
He's gonna snap his fingers, and all the gays are gone. They're gonna send us all to Canada.
You're onto something. There's something there.
No, it's like a weird persecution problem. Like, do you know like Christians that are really, really into Revelation?
Yeah, people are into Revelation. They're like, it's a lot of fun.
Any day now, buddy. It's coming. Rapture. It's happening. Did you sell all your stuff?
There's like 30 or 40 million of those guys in the U.S. who are...
they beat off.
Premillennial dispensationalists.
Oof.
Is the category you're thinking about. And it's all about... it's why they tend to be very like pro like Israel.
Yeah.
But really it's like...
If they don't kill the red
it's like the line from the song, everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. So if Christ returns before they have to die, then, they get the best of both worlds.
No, I think it's not just like that weird convenience thing. I think they're like, oh my God, and blood's going to rain from the sky, and there's going to be...
That stuff is epic.
Dudes on a horse.
So that's why people have to be humble and careful about like that book in particular, because it's just crazy, and it takes a lot of work, and people devote their whole lives to it, and they'll never totally decode it, and anyone who thinks they have is like watch out for that person. Like David Koresh, remember him?
Yeah.
The Waco guy?
Yeah.
He was considered like he was like a schizo basically. And he was considered like the worldwide expert in the 7 seals of Revelation.
Dude,
and people would come from all over the world to like learn about the 7 seals from David Koresh. And he's like a cult leader, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And that's like an extreme case of what you're talking about. But people need to be careful with a book like that.
I still don't think that you're picking up what I'm putting down. Like it's
maybe not.
Like they get gratified at the idea of persecution, and in this case, by like, you know, a divine entity. It's sort of like people who, you know, like people who fantasize about the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
Right? So like imagine they're like, oh my God, dude, they made zombies. They made them. Oh, they're right over there. And they be talking about every day about like, oh, somebody's showing signs of zombification. And they be like just so engaged and interested. And they're like, oh no, what are we going to do? Like, oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to have to kill my best friend. Like, I'm not going to be one of those guys that hides the bite mark. I'm just going to...
People need to be part of the story.
And when they're climbing all over me and I only have 1 bullet left, I'm not going to save it for myself. I'm going to shoot them. Take them to hell.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I think people beat off to persecution by Trump.
It's especially amusing because he's really a 90s New York Democrat kind of guy. Like it's been pointed out, and probably correctly, that he's basically more left-wing than Bill Clinton in 1992.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting object to make into your Thanos in your real-life Avengers fantasy. And there is something to that. Like, especially on the left, people love being victims, but everyone kind of wants to, you know, they need to build that story. It's like the James Lindsay thing. Did you see what he was talking about with the whole woke right thing?
Yeah.
And his stupid hoax article about like, oh, I took the Communist Manifesto and changed some of the buzzwords to like right-wing stuff.
Yeah.
And then right-wingers fell for it. And it's like, it's kind of a pattern, just because the left has a good guy and a bad guy, and they're invested in that story.
Yeah.
And they've done a good job like weaving it into our reality. But everyone like wants that story. Like they need to be a good guy or the victim. And there's some kind of bad guy in their story. And
does it mean because you're a victim, there's no action that you can do that is immoral?
Well, some people will rationalize that for sure, of course.
They're like, I'll kill every ex that I see, like, because they're fascist and evil.
Punch a Nazi!
I'm gonna get them.
Remember when Punch a Nazi was a big thing?
Yeah, remember when Richard Spencer got punched in the back of his fucking gay head?
I think he's a tool, but
He's
I wouldn't go
a
punch him in the back of the head. Like, what a loser thing to do.
I feel like he's
a little like punk bitch thing.
Yeah, you don't punch people in the back of the head. You don't shoot them in the back either. You don't shoot people in the back as they're walking down a sidewalk.
If you gotta fight a guy, like, even just, I don't know, lefties.
I feel like Spencer deserves a wedgie. He's a wedgie target. He's like...
Didn't he, like, become... He's basically always been kind of a clown in a lot of ways, but he's like one of these... Didn't him and Richard Hanania have, like, a circle jerk together where they're like, yeah, I'm a liberal now?
No, I don't know. Everybody just... Like, he stank of Fed in the same way that, like...
It just seemed like a lowlife.
No, you just stank like Fed, dude. In the same, like that Proud Boy guy, like the leader of the Proud Boys, quote unquote leader of the Proud Boys.
I don't know much about that.
Oh yeah, you should though, because guess what? Fucking works for the CIA. They like during January 6th, they're like, you can't come to DC, and he's like, okay, and then like it turns out,
he'd been like contacted, and he was like informant or something.
Yeah, dude, he worked for the fucking feds.
Yeah, lots of that. I bet you that's like common in a lot of places, but yeah, I mean. Yeah, Richard Spencer's lame.
We got there because of Punch and Nazi was popular.
Oh yeah, Punch and Nazi, because that was the story. It's like, we need to do anything.
Yeah,
Our lives are at stake. Our communities are at stake.
Can you imagine it?
Speech is violence. Silence is violence.
Can you imagine if conservatives actually had a shred of that conviction?
Again, they don't define respectability. They try to be respectable.
I'm Aaron O'Toole, and I only slap Nazis. No, but shouldn't they be like, I'm going to double punch Nazis? Shouldn't they?
They'd be like, I'm going to crush these leftists under my heel.
Yeah, it's just like,
Is that too hardcore?
well, I mean, it's not as hardcore as,
Because it is the Schmittian existential battle.
oof.
Because one side does want to destroy the other side, and the other side's like playing like laser tag. And who's gonna win? The laser tag kids or the guys who go to the laser tag arena with like assault rifles?
No, because they'll never take it seriously. Like they're LARPing, and the only way to get out of this without killing a bunch of people is, I think Yarvin's onto something where it's just like restore the executive branch.
Well, and that's part of the interesting thing. I don't know if we were in this conversation or if it was before we recorded or something, but talking about the different people that are around Trump now.
Yeah.
And I think there is a different awareness about some of these issues that are kind of interesting. Like Trump has JD Vance.
Yeah.
And JD Vance,
He's hip.
like, of course, was basically bankrolled by Peter Thiel for his like investment fund and his Senate race. Peter Thiel is part of the PayPal mafia, which is like has a lot of intersection with like quote unquote our guys.
Yeah.
In strange ways. Like they're not one of us, but there's still some overlap that's interesting. And of course, that Silicon Valley billionaire, like that progressive type.
Yeah.
Yarvin made kind of, because Yarvin's part of that world kind of culturally, but he's, a right winger versus like the progressive
Yeah.
prevailing mentality. But Yarvin was very influential in making like the reactionary perspective, I think, more palatable or interesting to that kind of community. And I think a lot of those ideas have kind of like percolated into some of the people in Trump's ambit, which I think is interesting because, of course, Yarvin himself is very influenced by Hoppe, and of course I'm a big Hoppe fan.
JD Vance, I sent you that video. It was like a 1 hour takedown. They're like, JD Vance is really into Yarvin, and like, oh, he's
I wish.
look at it. No, apparently they're like, and then they just proceeded for like an hour and a half to like talk about like how evil Yarvin is, and it's like, it's sad. It's like, remember when Eric Weinstein was on fucking dude, it was like the intersection of I want to fucking kill myself. It was Eric Weinstein on
Joe Blogan?
no, the Fed.
David Pacman?
No.
Cenk Uygur, Young Turks?
No, the
Quillette?
the right wing,
The dark web?
the dark
Intellectual
intellectuals.
Dark Web Podcast 37.
Friedman. Anyways, he was on there, and there were, he was Lex Friedman, dude. So it was Eric. I was like, dude, I want to fucking die. But it was there's a YouTube channel, Tack, who like has these really good clips, and it was like Weinstein just going like, oh,
Is he worried about JD Vance?
no, he doesn't want to interact with Yarvin because he was like he's too
He's got dangerous ideas.
yeah.
I don't want to like give them credibility.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, this guy's like,
That's funny. That's what like Jordan Peterson cancelers used to say.
yeah, he was
And
like, yeah, and like then
speech is violence. We can't platform this
he goes,
stuff.
he says some really he's like, he says a bunch of racist things.
Didn't he say we should use people as biofuel?
Didn't he
Didn't he
say-
say we should use criminals as biofuel?
Didn't he say some people make better slaves than others?
Oh my god.
Dude, it's like, anyway, so he's really good at being provocative and hip, and he understands art.
Who? Yarvin?
Yeah.
No, Yarvin's like in the hip scene.
Yeah.
Like he's a hip guy.
Yeah. He's
And like it's kind of annoying in some ways, but how could you not like him?
and yeah. And here's another book that you've never fucking heard about.
He
Like,
seems like he'd be a leftist, would have a fun time hanging out with Yarvin at the pub.
Yeah. No, I think he's probably a great guy.
Like, he can go to like poetry readings. He probably rides his bike to get like fresh pears in the morning. He's probably one step away from smoking clove cigarettes.
Watching him, like, reading that back and forth between him and who's that fucking other guy?
Rufo.
Yeah.
Interesting discussion.
You know what? Rufo did an okay job.
I think we can respect both sides of the debate if we're fair.
Yeah, but Rufo's proof is in action. But he kind of got outclassed in terms of witticisms, like...
He did the annoying thing I do to people, which is like, have you read this book, idiot?
Well, but he had a really good reason for saying, have you read this book? Because he's just like, if you're going to put this up on a pedestal, maybe you should understand it. And somebody's like, it's the same way you feel about, like, lip service Christians, where they're like, it's very important to interpret the Bible through a gay lens. And you're like, have you read it? And they're like, yes, I read it and I love it and I base my entire life on it and I've been fighting for the Bible nonstop. And you're like, maybe you should read this. And it wasn't like it was a valid diss, I think. But then Rufo's just like, yeah, the book you recommended me is a guy who got fucking thrown out. Like a bitch wrote it and like, fuck you, dude. We're Americans, dude. We don't fuck around. Like,
no, well,
he's just like,
they both...
It's just a big mob and they're mean and they're bad and they're actually the bad guys. And he's just like, fuck you, nerd.
Maybe, I think there's a higher synthesis.
Yeah. What is it?
I just think they're in a way false dichotomies. Like I think they both represent part of the solution. But the thing is with Yarvin, like Yarvin is kind of a sledgehammer, and you might not like in the end, because again he's like more the atheistic and part of kind of like a more progressive worldview, I guess in certain ways, like in a cultural sense perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't think he necessarily like lands on, like he misses a lot of things. He's got a lot of blind spots, but you have to, if you're like a right winger as such, Yarvin's influence is so big, you need to be able to deal with like Yarvinisms.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're not like serious. And it's not like, Yarvin's just basically draws upon kind of like forgotten, more right wing ways of thinking, but he's not, the ideas that he's in some ways injected into the discussion, like they need to be addressed. It's similar, like a serious right winger in the modern age needs to think about it.
Yeah.
And come to an answer.
Answer these questions.
Yeah. Answer these questions. Your answers might be different, but you need to deal with them.
Yeah. Address them.
You need to understand the problem.
Yeah. Because he peddles in memes, and memes are the fashion now. And like, if it weren't for memes, you wouldn't have had Donald Trump go on Aiden Ross's show because Barron Trump told him to. Yeah.
And again, part of this, like there's this chain of transmission that's not necessarily intentional or like some like dark conspiracy or like the mind behind the man or something. But again, I sincerely believe some of this stuff has trickled up into people in Trump's ambit, and I think that counts for something. Again, it's not like as Yarvin might put it, like Trump's not going to be like the 1932 FDR.
Yeah.
There is more like kind of a more realistic political understanding about kind of like what's involved or how it works, how the fight works, and how because I mean, again, like a lot of people in surrounding Trump are all like Democrats, basically, like Elon Musk,
RFK.
Tulsi Gabbard, RFK. Like these are obviously not extreme right wingers.
Yeah.
But at different points, or JD Vance is arguably the most right wing in kind of like the inner circle, but he's not like super hardcore. So it seems. It might be,
he could be
tough to say.
You want to talk about somebody who has done a better job impressing me than any, like he's the only one out of all of them, because everyone's like, well, why didn't you pick so-and-so or pick, You know, pick the black doctor. Like, no, you listen to this. Like, you watched the debate. Fucking gives the greatest meme ever. The JD Vance, like,
Oh yeah, that was good.
The sideways look. And then he goes on Joe, like, was he?
I've talked to school shooters.
He's all the interviews that he's done. I'm just like, wait a second, this guy's actually, he's with it.
More so than, like, he seems like a different kind of generation than some of these, like, silver hair.
Speaking of generational divides,
like, he played Halo 2.
Yeah. But who was the fucking?
He drank a beer in college.
I never inhaled. Who was the fucking other on the Democratic vice president? Who was running? It was
Tim Walz and Kamala.
Can't even remember his name, dude. But Tim Walz played video games. He played Madden on screen. Like he did like a Twitch stream, dude. It was fucking cringe. It was pretty bad.
Tim Walz.
But like, look at how.
And did you see leftist women were like,
Tim Walz is my kind of guy.
And then white guys for Kamala were like,
This is a positive image of masculinity.
I'll drink a Cabernet. I know how to rebuild a motor and respect women.
oh, you saw that ad?
I thought it was.
I wish we could play that ad live, like, right now. So people, like, if they haven't seen it, because it was classic.
I know how to ride horses.
Speaking of ads, you know what the best Trump ad was?
What?
Kamala is for they, them. Trump is for you.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, speaking of which, do you know how cucked we've become as right wingers? Do you know how thirsty we are for wins? There was an entire day of like.
Are you talking about like a Canadian context?
No,
or in general.
In
North
general,
America.
in North America, you know where it matters. There was an entire day of celebration the day AOC took her pronouns out of her Twitter bio. Everyone's like,
the age of woke is over.
We fucking won, boy.
We won, boys.
Yeah, go kiss a woman, like, you know, go kiss a woman in the street, bend her over and just fucking kiss her. The war is over.
You know how many times I've heard woke is dying? Like, over the last many years.
Is it as much as the West has fallen?
So, one of the, I don't know, did you follow Nima Parvini at all?
No.
Or like, so he says, he has a theory that like the ruling class will like dispense with the woke when it's not useful anymore. And so one of the ongoing discussions is like, you know, is that correct? And he thinks like, you know, the ruling class wanted Trump and Kamala was the jobber, for example. And there's, I think, credibility, or there's a lot of truth in that in some ways. But so there's his side, and he says, yeah, the elite will put away the woke when it's not useful. And the other side is like, no, it's like there's no escaping it for the cult. Like they can't surrender. They're true believers. They're not just like cynical enjoyers of the strategy.
Yeah.
To exercise power when it's kind of like getting in their way, then they'll, you know, tone it down a bit.
Dude, I've never seen like benefit of the doubt given to people before like that. They're just like, this is all just a cynical ploy and it's a utility and it just simply distract. Like they're like, because if you look at DEI, woke, or progressivism or some kind of like reference in quarterly reports, and you look how often diversity is referenced in
I saw that chart
500
in like the earnings calls.
Yeah, just off a cliff, dude.
But is that like, what does that mean? A change of the language or a change of the ideas? Like, has the buzzword just changed?
Yeah, I think that's
or do they need to be sneakier about it?
No, I think they got to be like.
I think a lot of businesses are kind of like.
Remember synergy?
Not interested in
Remember
it.
the word synergy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or streamlining buzzwords.
Yeah. So I think
ESG.
Yeah.
DEI.
ESG, DEI. I think if you look
Disruptor.
If you look at corporate America through quarterly reports, like a good autoid should, then yes. But then if you go and talk to people and you'd be like, so what's up? And they're like, oh my God, he's going to outlaw gay people. I love the new Jaguar ad. Copy nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because we've talked about it a lot before and how it's taken on kind of this crazy religious aspect, I don't think it can, like, quote unquote, normal people can tone it down. But I don't think the true believer has given anything up. Like, they have, it's the classic SJW thing where it's like, you cannot not double down like every single time.
We're still at war.
We are still at war.
Yeah. How many people do you think are actual true believers, though?
In, like, the leftoid cult?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like tiny minority, but that's all you need to make it work.
Do you think it's more than 5%?
Probably between 5 and 10%. Like, again, not a huge chunk, but that's all you need.
Yeah. Well,
there's that
in the right
academic
places.
study. People have talked about this, and, like, I'm not totally sure what to make of it, but there's that old study where it's like, to really change society, you only need like 5% to be hardcore and push it. And the common example used is slavery. Like, so you ended slavery not because the majority, like, was against it one day. It started with like a hardcore minority that was dedicated to the cause. Same thing with the hardcore, you know, I wish there was a better word, but I guess we're stuck with it, like the hardcore woke guys, like the post-Marxist leftists.
Like 12 apostles?
What's the 12 apostles? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have some hardcore people.
You got to have 12 of
You
them.
got to have the hardcore evangelizers.
One from each tribe.
Obviously 12 is symbolically significant, but I don't know if, like, actually they were all from different tribes. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they were.
Guess
But part of the issue is most of the tribes are scattered. Like, the whole point is that those tribes aren't there because the Assyrians, when they move in to judge the northern kingdom, like, they take them off and they ship them all over the place. And then that's the whole deal with Pentecost. Like, you got all those people in town for Jerusalem at Passover. The Festival of the Weeks comes up later. So there's a lot of people from all over the Roman Empire. The Jews come to Jerusalem for those things. And then they go back home to, like, wherever they are in the empire after that, after they've heard the evangelizing in the early Christian community. So I think the whole point is that the apostles weren't
correction.
from the
Jesus
lost tribes.
chose the 12 apostles to represent the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, 12 and 12. It's like when he sends out the 70, which represents the 70 nations.
So yeah, you just need 12 hardcore dudes.
Compounds from there.
Just a squad.
Compound interest.
So, like, they'll never...
You got to have a betrayer.
Is it Rachel Gilmore? Would she sell you out and go work as Trump's private, like, TikTok news agent?
I feel like she wouldn't because she wants to be the victim.
How much would it cost?
I think she'd prefer to be broke, and I think she probably gets money from her mother, and her father is nowhere to be seen. I think her mother... This is my theory. This is like gossip. This is like National Enquirer, like, low-grade gossip of Canadian low-rent journalists, independent journalists who get fired all the time.
Yeah.
My theory is that she hates her dad.
Yeah.
Her mother's divorced and has lots of money. She chips in for Rachel's rent, and Rachel has a musician for a partner who's like basically doesn't make any money at all, probably doesn't have a job, DJs like once every 6 months maybe, and then puts out a song on Spotify like every 18 months.
Big numbers.
And that's her situation. So I think she pays most of the bills.
So she'd rather go broke than...
Subsidized by the divorced mother. That's my theory. I got nothing really to back it up other than
your intuition?
patterns.
Noticing. Couldn't help but notice.
Couldn't help but notice a pattern here.
Huh. Have you ever noticed?
I'm Canadian. I don't notice. Unless I'm in Brampton.
Huh. These guys all seem to be shitting on the street. What's that about? Oh well, whatever. Hockey games on.
Brampton. I'm so glad I don't live in Toronto.
I'm so happy. Do you think
I live in the suburbs.
we're inured to a lot of that because of where we live?
I think we've got it really good.
We do.
In the grand scheme of things, we've got it damn good.
Yeah.
I find it hard to imagine where we could do better.
We'd have to move way north, dude. We'd have to...
I don't know. Like, you're a
don't stop-
suburbanite. I'm a suburbanite. We're in one of the nicer cities in the Western world.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever, nicer, like the least disastrous. It's not bad. Be grateful every day and complain while you're at it.
I don't know. Maybe. I think as much as people kind of like roll their eyes, it's like that old post by Sam Hyde, like, never forget they fucking hate you.
Yeah, they hate you.
They hate you. They want your kids like in slavery.
Want you
like,
dead.
Yeah. Your kid's transed and they think it's funny.
They hate you.
They fucking hate you, dude. Like, never give them an inch.
That was why 2020 and 2021 with the virus panic were very important, because it's not that like my principles changed, but I got this awareness of how much they hate me. Like, there, it was just, they put it out there. And it wasn't just about the virus thing. It was about like all of it.
Notice that there were calls for Anthony Fauci to be preemptively pardoned. What a strange thing to request.
Yeah.
Preemptive pardon for what? What did he do? What could he have done?
Well, don't you see Trump is going to make him a forced birther?
They're going to weaponize the judicial system and just come up with something.
If only. Like, everyone's like, these people belong in jail. And it's almost as impotent and pathetic as saying, like, this guy's got to resign. Dude. And it's like, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to prosecute anyone. You'll let them prosecute you. You won't prosecute them. You don't have the guts.
Right now, I'm calling on the Trudeau government to step down. Like, they all think they're Reagan or something, dude. Like, guess what? That wall was coming down no matter what, dude.
It just feels like such a pathetic loser thing to say. And again, it's part of that, it's like the political loser mentality. It's, you make demands on things you have no power to enforce because, like, it's all you can do.
Right now, I am calling on the CEO of United Healthcare to step down. Do you think Luigi's like a folk hero now?
Yeah, to some people.
Yeah.
He'll be forgotten in a few weeks or months.
Sure.
Yeah. Because the left, it's mainly, I mean, there's some right wingers who are into it too, and there's some memeing with it, but I don't think it has a lot of traction, especially because it's predominantly leftists who want to kill CEOs.
I think in 20 years.
And the left can't meme.
No, but it can repeat patterns. I think in 16 years, something like that, I think whoever the Democratic president is at the time will commute his sentence. Just like Obama did to those terrorists for the Weather Underground people.
Maybe.
Remember that? Wasn't that weird?
Or maybe he'll just commit suicide in jail.
No.
Maybe he's...
You'd never let him, dude.
Maybe he's like a Kaczynski. Maybe some CIA program made him crazy. I'm not saying I really believe that, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure I really care. Like,
his back hurt.
Yeah, his back hurt and he needed to kill a guy. The whole thing seems weird.
Actually, I thought they were going to go with the angle of the 3D printed gun. They're like, because they're like, he 3D printed his gun. He's a tech whiz. Like, dude, it's
Was he just like a schizo?
No.
Because wasn't he like a high performer earlier in life?
He was. He went to Ivy League school.
Or was he really a loser, like with a good image?
Well, judging on the
and his back hurt.
On the company that he kept, he kind of like dealt with some real like. I'm asking you, as my friend, that when I eventually become infamous, and anybody does some gay ass interviews talking about me where they're like, you know, he was really quiet and he read a lot of books and he was very interested, like, kill that guy. Never talk to the press. Okay. Anybody that talks to me or talks about me to some news station somewhere, I don't care how much money they offer you. or how many times Rachel Gilmore like fluffs you. Like,
Well, yeah, you shouldn't talk to the media.
like
ever.
what a like. So that's the company that he kept. He was like in Hawaii or something like that, and his
I honestly
friend
don't
was
really
like,
know much.
You know,
about it.
we just kind of drifted apart, and things have been, and he was just his back was sore a lot, and he just kept reading books. And I had no idea. Like, dude, he's never discussed violence before. Like, bullshit, dude.
What the yeah, I guess like my interest level in the whole thing is extremely low, but I see like a lot of stuff about it on the internet.com.
You need to step out of it and watch, not have an opinion on it, but watch other people as they have opinions. That's where I find it
I
fascinating.
can't help it. Like, it's just out there. It's again, like I said, my interest level is low, but I can't help but see stuff. And I see leftist kind of glamorization of the whole thing, like it's some John Brown thing. And then there's some right wingers too, which like I think there's some retarded so-called right wingers out there, but I guess we just got to live with it. Like, this guy sounds like a loser. He's not my kind of folk hero. He's not like a Kyle Rittenhouse. Are you a
Kyle supporter?
yeah.
Well, he wouldn't endorse Trump, so nuh-uh.
No, didn't he get like a demand out of Trump? He played it smart. Didn't he say like, don't ban this gun? He's like, yeah, okay.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Like, Nick Fuentes wouldn't endorse Trump either. Coincidence? No, I think
Well, he's not very popular among the LGBT population.
I think he's a really impressive young man.
Who are we talking about?
Rittenhouse. Like,
No, it's pretty crazy. He seems like
seems okay. He
Yeah,
just seems like a
okay.
dude.
Seems like a dude.
He's no plan, dude. He's no
Not
fed.
like an Antifa guy.
He's no fed. I'll tell you that much. Okay? He's down there cleaning up graffiti. Okay? Like, he's a lifeguard.
Pretty interesting story, actually, when you think back on it.
Super interesting.
And like, what a night.
Crazy. Right? But this
It would have been like Left 4 Dead 2 out there.
dude, they would have ate.
With the Antifa being the zombies.
Do you remember? Did you watch that documentary '96 about the LA riots?
Probably haven't seen that one.
It's pretty good.
I've seen like stuff, like documentaries.
Do you remember
about
watching
it
the
before.
video of them
Used
like
to be a big deal.
just beating that trucker into a fucking pulp?
Yeah, it's a famous clip, or I don't know, maybe it's not famous, but
It's famous.
it's well known in our circles. I guess
it's pretty crazy, right?
like
he's
if
there
you're
just
into the-
gasping for like he's
because it's one of the
bleeding.
classic examples of like, oh, when a mob like stops your car, like what do you have the right to do?
Yeah.
Or
Whatever you
it's
want,
also
dude.
like the gun thing, like people like, oh, you need a gun in case like a mob like tries to pull you out of your car or something.
That never happens. Call the
Like,
police.
it comes up a lot in our, or I don't know, it's come up a lot over the years in my
Yeah.
world. It's a classic video.
Yeah. So when we,
Scary.
yeah, dude, it's our true crime, dude.
It's like Left 4 Dead too.
True crime, dude. True crime. And we're like, yeah, this actually happened. And like, so you just have like this grainy footage of like this guy killing the CEO, and they're like, oh well, like it's justified. Like, look at the misery that they're doing. He's like saving himself and everyone in America by killing.
Doesn't
this
even
CEO.
seem like a good example.
Dude, they
Like from a leftist perspective, it seems like a bit of a stretch.
need something, dude.
But then again, they also like celebrated the shooter at that Christian school like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
Don't
he
release
was
the
oppressed.
Don't release the
Don't release
manifest.
the manifesto.
It leaked anyways, dude. Like,
Years later.
yeah,
It took a long time. Of
really-
course it was gonna come out, but
uncomfortable.
and it was exactly what everyone knew it was gonna
Everybody
be.
knew, dude. Everyone knows.
It's like one of those politically correct noticing thing. It's like they released the info because such and such. They're not releasing the info because therefore.
To use, to local use. A group of youngsters.
Did you see that thing? I think I sent it to you about something in like Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
All these concerns about crime that's never been in the community before because of like young teenagers
Unprecedented.
randomly committing acts of violence against people. And it's like CBC like article or whatever, and the comments are all like immigrants.
The Reddit moments.
Damn, that's like the noticing. It's
Yeah.
like the Reddit moments. Exactly. It's like
Yeah, but CBC
it's like,
comments.
whoa, is this really happening? And
But CBC comments have long history of just being like, it's the Jews. Like, they're pretty crazy. It's
what, CBC?
Yeah,
well,
news-
they make it like
all news comment articles are just like,
But I mean-
boomers not giving a fuck anymore.
I mean, like if they post the article on like
oh yeah.
Twitter X or whatever,
Hey Reddit, check out this article.
or Reddit or stuff, because
Yeah.
like again, I like to kind of like poke around and see what people say about certain things. Anyway, I heard about this thing, and it's like, yeah, the way they describe it, it's just you get a certain sense, because again, you notice patterns over time,
Two youths.
and yeah, it's kind of like a social disorder thing,
Two new Canadians.
but no one says it.
New Germans. I love the new Germans.
You know, it's too bad you got to talk about stuff like that. But again, it's like if everything was going perfectly well, people wouldn't notice what we were saying at the beginning or whatever, like way before.
It kind of makes me I hate to bring up Yarvin again, like a fucking faggot, but
Like Yarvin.
yeah, his theory on power, where he's just like, oh cool, you got some like DEI professors fired. Who decided to call every black person a youth?
Damn. No, he's the insight about Yarvin, and it makes the challenge, like once the challenge is understood, like you really understand why he's kind of like this maximalist and kind of like scoffs at these like lesser attempts. But it's like he makes the comparison between the system. What is this? So it's like the totally totalitarian system where it's like it like straight up like punishes or outlaws explicitly like the wrong ideas. And then you imagine the opposite, which is like totally free and open ideas. But he correctly describes like that middle ground where it's not like it's so much more powerful because it's not exercised by like raw force and coercion. It's like the soft coercion of like the social system. So he describes kind of that in-between area. And it's the in-between area where there's kind of like that soft power because the consensus is formed and it controls like what is acceptable and what is not acceptable discourse, like in the ruling class, like again, like story or whatever, however you want to put it. Like they frame the issue. He talks about how like everyone in the Middle Ages, all these different countries, all these different like cultures and stuff, but they're all like educated in like the Roman Catholic frame. And it's like that middle power.
Why does every university
forms
agree?
the frame?
Every university agrees with every other university.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
It's like, and he describes it as not like something that's enforced from the top. It's like a decentralized process, and that's why it's crazy. And if you understand like how heavy and deep that insight is, which isn't, when you think about it, like it's one of almost these simple and obvious things that just like needs to be pointed out. But
noticed.
And this is something that Jeffrey Tucker kind of like took one of the most like hardcore like libertarian guys, right? And he's really taken like the whole libertarian scene to task because he's like, look what happened during the virus panic. And so much of that was just soft power. Like it was like the corporations, the media, academia, like the bureaucracies, like in cahoots in a way that wasn't like, I mean, sometimes there was the more, I guess, classic police state example, but a lot of it was just
voluntary,
softer coercion or like defining what is good and what is bad. And it's way more powerful because it's like voluntary, it's decentralized. It's like what you went back to at the beginning. Why does everyone agree in this category? Like, why is the media like in total lockstep on these certain points? Really interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a good like Yarvinian or the Moldbugian insight. Well, it's like the people who leave the skid marks in the rainbow crosswalk.
Yeah.
It's like a blasphemy, and it needs to be punished as such. And again, that's like goes to the cathedral image that he uses. Like these assaults against the religious like meaning or symbolism, like it has to be punished the most strongly. And meanwhile, there's kind of like the so-called anarcho-tyranny on the other side. Like they want you to be like the victim of the crime, basically. They want the disorder. They let the criminal like run wild out on bail after 32 arrests or whatever. And they're poor babies. They're the victims of society. If they stab you, it's your fault.
It was 32 convictions for that guy. And Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold. He later died in police custody. Penny spent the past 2 years fighting. Found not guilty.
That's an interesting story. Another folk hero kind of character.
Dude, in defense of
up
others.
against the system.
Yeah. But.
And the guy who was there, who like was the... he helped the second guy of a different, physical character. Was given immunity.
So Penny goes to jail. This Luigi guy, they're just like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's awesome.
It's a lame, like, folk hero.
Just start gunning them down in the streets, dude.
What about John Brown? They really love John Brown. The guy who, like, did the raid before the Civil War. Like, killing, trying to liberate, like, rescue some slaves from... So he's like a heavily debated figure in American history. It's like, was he justified?
No.
It's like, I don't know. You guys can hash it out.
It sounds like something Ivermex Kendi cares about.
I think they want someone like that.
They want a Batman.
The left
dude.
is really into that.
They need a Batman. Everybody needs a Batman.
Everyone wants a Batman.
Yeah.
Somebody goes against the system.
Do you know who fucking said that?
Some leftist.
Eric.
Justin Trudeau.
Eric Weinstein.
I
Some
thought you were gonna
leftist.
say Aaron O'Toole.
No, Eric Weinstein.
Everyone needs a Batman?
I think he might have been quoting somebody else, but that's where I heard it.
What does that mean?
Like, we don't care. Judicial process isn't as important as the
Result.
righteousness of the action itself.
That's pretty much what, like, democracy means to people. It's like, we don't really care what people vote for as long as we win.
Fuck it, just pass a law. Put them in camps.
I voted for it.
Just put them in camps. Take their kids. Fire them. They're unclean. Fuck
So
'em.
yeah, anyway, decentralized power.
Yeah.
And
They're not
like-
homeless. They're unhoused.
And so you're up against the cathedral. Like, Rufus' thing is like, take some heads.
Yeah. Just get wins, dude. Just get wins.
But
Just win.
it's like the Hydra. You need like a secret weapon to like take it down. And you can't just cut its heads off.
You still got to be there with a sword. You can't be like sitting back like...
Depending on how long it takes for the two heads to grow out. So Hydra, you got to like burn it, right? So it doesn't like regenerate into more heads. After you take off a head, like, is there a way to cap things?
Cut the funding.
Like, you can't add another position. You got to cut funding. You got to like do stuff. You got to like, there has to be more. You can't just like land a few hits.
Yeah, as you pass laws, doesn't matter. They'll just rename things, shuffle some decks.
And how do you even do that anyway? Like, how do you even like, they've talked about taxing the endowments of the university. It's like, okay, interesting. Because if you wanted to take down like this system, like the progressive religion like system,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what do you do? And so Yarvin's like, well,
Stop.
you got to be like
Ruthless.
the regime change.
Well, no. So he said the entire purpose of the universities is technically to be a source of truth. And so, like, step 3 of his little plan there was like, create truth. Have a good source of truth that is so much better as a source of truth that these people can't compete. Because they're not being truthful. So just make some truth.
So he used examples like denazification, after World War II, and like when King Henry like shut down like the seminaries as like positive examples.
Yeah.
You know, not probably perfect, but examples of like shutting down theoretical system institution maker guys, cathedralites.
He also used the word glacial tongue.
I forget what that means.
Coordination.
Is that German?
Yeah.
Germans have a word for everything.
Yeah. Was roughly translated to coordination was the process of Nazification. So it was just glacial tongue in a different direction.
Like Inquisition style.
Oh yeah. But like you have to have a source of truth. Otherwise you have no legitimacy. I was thinking about something the other day. To live truthfully
Is racist.
should make one's life easier.
Isn't that white patriarchy, evil white man talking?
No, because if you were a gay man or a woman trapped in a man's body, you're like, this is my truth.
So state this proposition again. To live truthfully.
Now, hold on. I wrote this down in a better way. 1 second. Do you remember when John Cena announced that they killed Osama bin Laden?
I do.
What the fuck is it?
I thought it was like a joke video or
Oh,
something.
no, it's real. It happened. He like got on the mic and he was like, I'd like to report that the United States Marines have brought Osama bin Laden to a terminal end.
Some people say Osama bin Laden died years earlier. And he had like kidney disease or something, and he needed dialysis twice a day. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about Osama.
What about the
bin Laden.
moderate terrorists of Syria?
Oh goodness, that came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah,
I was like, it happened just as I was going on holidays. I was like,
yeah.
whoa, Damascus just fell.
Yeah. Do you think
That's crazy?
Yeah. Do you think that truth and thus happiness is part of a Gronk curve?
Truth and happiness is a what curve?
Is on the Gronk curve.
I don't even know what that is.
The Gronk curve is like the Gronk over here, and he's like, vaccines bad. And then
oh yeah, the midwit.
the midwit is
bell
like,
curve
vaccines
name?
are awesome, and then like the esoteric like wizard up here is like, vaccines
Yeah,
bad.
Jedi Master.
I just call them Gronk curves because
the wizard, the Gandalf,
yeah,
and the Hobbit.
yeah. So
And then with like the midwit in the middle.
You could call them midweight curves.
So
but
what,
like,
happiness and truth are on that curve?
Yeah.
So in what sense? What would that mean?
that
Like, is the midwit going for happiness and the other guys are going for
that
truth?
Truth makes them unhappy.
It's
Like the Gronk and the genius they love truth, and it makes them happy.
yeah, okay, it probably is on the bell curve Gronk meme.
Yeah.
If that's what it's called.
So like, if truth makes these people miserable, because like, you know, like think about, they're like, yeah, this is a totally valid lifestyle. It's just a construct. There's like, no, there's truth here, and you're avoiding it. They're like, I'm avoiding it because it makes me unhappy. So like every time you kind of look at someone, you go, come on.
I think the midwit is most likely to tend towards relativism. And I'm not really sure, but I'm sure that for some reason I have a strong feeling that correlation would be there.
Because I think about the idea of truth leading to happiness. And these people avoid truth because it makes them unhappy.
Yeah, what a way to live. What a way to be oriented in the world.
But there's a lot of people in that fucking little space, dude. Like, is truth...
Off the top of the bell curve.
Yeah, is truth...
It's like the highest.
Is truth really
integral.
the way to derive authority in a political system? My gut says no.
You basically have politics because, like, of the fallen state. You don't mean like the government. I mean like
Of
the
man.
fallen state of man. Because otherwise, you've got like Shangri-La or whatever. And
Then how could Aristotle have ever have understood government, since he did not know of the fall of man?
well,
Are you calling him a fucking liar?
I like Aristotle.
Who?
What?
Who was his teacher again?
Plato.
It's callback.
So anyway, what were we talking about before the fallen state thing?
Whether
Happiness and truth?
yeah, because I believe happiness comes from truth.
Seems like a reasonable thought.
Ode to a Grecian urn.
Like it seems fairly counterintuitive that truth would lead to like permanent misery. And
But
to the extent it causes misery, that shows you're like out of alignment with reality.
Yeah, so
Like you're a chaos agent. Truth is perfect order, and it hurts you because you're a chaos agent.
yeah.
And it makes you sad because you're an agent of chaos.
Yeah, it bugs them. So I guess that always kind of like he seems very clear that that's part of this is the playbook. Like you attack the cathedral by having a source of truth that is unassailable and will function as a replacement. And it's just like, that seems weird to me. Like it seems weird to say that, like, no, you need to have this, otherwise nothing else works. You need
It's true though. It's like you have to.
He's saying you need the cathedral, but you just need to be in charge of the cathedral.
So it goes back to the idea of like narrative and story that we've talked about a couple times here. It's like you need to give people a story to put themselves in. And that's why the left has been very effective, because the conservatives have basically like accepted that story. They're just like, we got to tap the brakes once in a while. But the left has like created the story. If you're gonna, and Yarvin says like, you know, the most powerful ally, or like the most powerful like soldier in your army is someone who believes the lie. Like they'll because if they'll believe the lie, like if they'll sacrifice truth, that's like the most powerful like tool to have on your side. So then the idea that like you need some alternative truth or story, like you need something to like kind of unite the opposing force around, because the left has this story and the right's really been struggling for like through the period of this decline of the West to give itself a story.
Please consult the sign.
Because it's so
West has fallen.
Because for the most part it's become so like ingrained in the whole liberal paradigm, even when they think they're opposing it, they're not really opposing it. They're not really opposing it in some like meaningful way. It's like in the virus panic, you saw it a lot. Like, what were the arguments against the virus panic? It's like, this is a silly rule, or, you know, public safety is, of course, the most important thing, but maybe we can deal with it this way. There was no, like, the arguments of a different sort were very different, where, like, maybe public safety or public health, quote unquote, is not, like, the most important priority in the world.
Maybe freedom's more important.
But like maybe there's another story, like the story of like, yeah, we're banding together and using science to defeat the virus.
Yeah.
Expertise will make it go away.
Yeah.
Versus some other story of like the arguments were so weak, like why to keep the churches open, or like why you shouldn't close down like every cultural event in society for a year or whatever.
There were some good arguments.
Like against doing so.
Yeah. But they came from the...
There were a lot of like practical, or what you might call like technical argument or technological arguments about it.
There was, do you have any weapons? Only my words. And then there was, fucking, what's his face? The actual pastor. And he goes, look, God is sovereign.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Some of those fragmented, kind of points of opposition kind of had a different principle motivating them. There's a story there, but not like a big one that, like people were really fragmented around their opposition and kind of like converged on, you know, a freedom, quote unquote, freedom convoy or trucker siege or whatever. The insurrection.
Yeah. The terrorists.
Like, again, that was kind of like those were kind of a story came together. So it's like the Yarvin thing where it's like you need a story to replace your enemy's story. That is like the ultimate way you kill the Hydra instead of just like cutting off heads and they grow back, like killing the monster. And the West like really needs to put a story together there at this point. Otherwise it literally like cannot, by the rules of reality, win the fight. But
Saddam
the
gassed
opposition to the leftism is very like fragmented and weak, and it's hard to know where that would like develop.
I don't know. They're just bad at it. Saddam gassed his own people. He wants WMDs. We got to go in there and kill 1 million Iraqis.
Epic.
No.
It's crazy. American Empire, like Middle
Evil.
Eastern stuff.
Absolute evil.
No, it's crazy.
Assad put all these people in jail.
And like, yeah,
It
the
was a
whole Syria
baby-
thing's
there
going
was
to
a-
be like a total butchery now.
There was a baby born in jail. He's never seen sunlight. This is a press where they flattened out people and squished them. I'm like, dude, there's real squishing going on in Ukraine. They delivered a meat cube to Ukraine, dude. Like, you fucking kidding me? That's a wood press. You guys are crazy. This propaganda is so weak and pathetic. I watched that like a 40-minute video from GDF, and it just goes, "Who's fighting who in Syria?"
They've always got a big thing like fighting the virus was a big thing. That was the story. Then it was fighting evil Russia, like the epitome of evil bad things in Ukraine. And then it was like, then it ran into some a bit of a complex case in like the Israel thing. But now Syria is kind of a new one for
It's on the list, dude.
the big story. Like, yay, we toppled a dictator.
Like, who did?
Don't ask that. They're not on the terrorist watch
The
list.
moderate
moderate rebels.
Moderate terrorists?
Only moderate head choppers.
Yeah, dude, they're like, oh, yeah, because there's the loyalist.
ISIS was too hardcore for me. I'm just a big softy.
No, those are the Syrian Democratic Forces.
Really want to be a member of ISIS.
Dude,
It was just the only game in town, but I had policy disagreements with the leadership.
yeah, the Kurds were like, yeah, we don't like Al Qaeda. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not good. And dude, I never realized what a piece of shit Erdogan was, or like the leader of Turkey. Like, he was just like buddy with Assad, and then all of a sudden Qatar started sending millions of dollars around. And dude, it's so crazy. Like, who fucking knows? All I know is somebody's up to no good.
I used to like know this stuff pretty well, if I do say so myself. I was really on top of it. I put time into it, and I've kind of lost track. And that's why this Syria thing just like kind of came out of nowhere. And I thought it was really crazy because I was tuned out big time from all the like Israel Gaza stuff.
Yeah.
Just found it tedious and annoying on both sides. Otherwise, I feel like I would have seen something coming in Syria. It just like boom, kind of happened.
So who's left on the list? It's just Iran.
It's just Iran. There's no way.
You sure?
They can bomb it, but like they can't like invade it.
Are you sure?
There's no way.
Are you sure?
I don't think they can do it.
Would you like to consult
But that doesn't mean they can't screw with them for a long time in many ways, and like to a crippling degree.
Pierre Polyev today or yesterday, little snippet, they're like,
Declared war on Iran.
no, they're like, what if Israel struck targets inside of Iran? And he goes like, I think that would be a gift to the democratic world. I'm like, dude, fuck you. Fuck you.
I don't think Trump wants to mess around with Iran too much. Not in like an invasion kind of way.
No, he wants a do this or it's going to hurt.
Yeah. And remember,
Don't test me.
remember the whole like assassination thing where they took out that Iranian general?
Yeah. He died like a dog.
But then like it was weird what happened after that, because basically Trump let Iran like save face and basically de-escalated it to nothing, and basically both sides like thought they won, and it's like, what the like
Art of the
it
deal.
was interesting. And that made me really kind of reflect on, I guess who's in the White House like does matter on like certain, because just the way that played out was interesting. And
Could have
maybe
been worse,
I don't know, So, but anyway, what I was saying is, Iran's last on the list.
Yeah.
But I think Trump is a general impediment to that. And I think it's like almost impossible anyway.
Would you like to consult the sign?
What's the sign?
You're
Book
not
of
you're,
Revelation?
you're not familiar with the sign tapping? Don't make me tap the sign.
What's the...
There's a very famous 4chan post that people have been referencing as the like
Yeah,
the
tapper
Simpsons
of signs.
The Simpsons
It's a
meme.
sign tapping meme.
Yeah.
But
So, like, there's
always got to be another line.
There's an Aura
Don't
McIntyre
make me
one.
tap the sign.
Yeah, the Aura McIntyre
You just
one was
want to
like
diddle your kids?
No, you think you hate journalists enough, but you don't.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
No, it was like a 4chan post that says in the coming months, like they'll be backing down on some of these woke agenda stuff. Don't get this twisted. They still fucking hate you.
Yeah, and they're just trying to like
They
play the
need
long
you to
game.
fight their wars.
And they need... Yeah, that's what Nima Parvini was saying, who said like they're going to put away the woke because one of the problems is no one wants to sign
Yeah.
up for the military.
There's white people in military ads again. Like, it's fucking going down, dude.
Yeah, somebody noticed.
Yeah.
Somebody noticed that military advertising changes a lot in the American empire.
Yeah.
When like there's an actual war to be fought.
Yeah.
Or to be prepared
When you're not just
for.
sending in fucking, like, half retarded Ukrainians. I say Iran, it's on the menu, dude.
No, it's not. They've probably got guys fighting in Ukraine right now. Unmarked. Just like the way Russia had like their unmarked troops fighting in Syria during the whole like war on Assad
Just like North
thing.
Korea had their troops in Russia.
I don't know.
Did you hear about that?
No.
North Korea sent a bunch of troops up to Russia.
Nobody cares about North Korea.
No, it's interesting because there was another news article that somebody put out. Could be true, could not be. I find it hilarious. They're like, yeah, the North Koreans finally have access to the internet, and now they won't stop beating off. They finally have access to porn, and it's ruined entire battalions.
Wow.
Fuck, dude.
What a scene.
It's gonna happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's gonna happen, dude.
Well, maybe that represents the limit, like because every crazy imperial scheme has its like ends in like its distinctive graveyard.
Yeah.
And maybe Iran will be like the reach too far for the American empire, because like American empire is not going to last forever.
The reach too far.
Where is it going to go? Like what's going to bring it down? Like would it be anything as crazy as an invasion of Iran? Is that... I don't even see how that's possible.
They're not gonna invade it. They're just
It's
gonna
like
fucking bomb
you
it
know when you
into
play
nothing.
Civ,
Yeah.
and there's like a place you really want to attack, but it's got like the random terrain generator made it basically like impossible to move troops, or
Yeah.
like it's got mountains and like all these tiles you can't take in. I just imagine it like the most frustrating place. And you can read about like different war games that they do on Iran, and like basically no one like can handle it. So that's not to say it couldn't be maybe the end game for imperial entanglements in that part of the world. But
Do you understand what Stuxnet was? Do you know what they fucking did?
you know, they messed up a nuclear reactor.
An enricher by sold by like a Swedish company to misreport the rate of cycling. That's fucking insane, dude. And they replaced all their pagers and killed like 1,000.
That was hard. That was like surprising, actually. That takes some...
They are like
Sneakiness.
there's a dude like it or not, like when people bitch about Israel, like yes, they are committing a genocide. There's no fucking doubt about it. But are you gonna stop them? Are you gonna stop them by camping out on this
They're
university?
going to blow up your phone.
No, not like look, you keep what you kill, dude. Like, yes, they went in there, they took it, and they're never gonna give it up.
Well, they've got the most powerful empire in history backing them up. And they have like 300 nuclear weapons.
That they stole from the United States. It's awesome.
It's like, imagine you're playing Civ. Let's say you're like doing a one city Civ.
Yeah.
Like, the ones where you just get like the crazy. And imagine you had like 40 nukes in it, and you got a bunch of enemies. And just say near the end of the game,
I replace all their pagers.
You want to get some land.
a little bit
Like,
of
I'm going
land.
to take some territory. It's like, what are they gonna do? Not that you'd nuke them, but
Oh, you would.
well, every Civ game basically for me ends in thermonuclear holocaust across the world. Because like, there's just nothing to do at a certain point except nuke everybody.
I end up just stacking units and just rolling across the map. I just pick one cardinal direction and just eat everything on the way.
But I think you can learn a lot about how politics should be done and empire waging from playing Civ. Is that naive?
Yeah, do you know that you can play as Harriet Tubman in the new Civ?
That's epic. Is that the leader of the U.S. faction?
It's Harriet Tubman.
Wow. Civ 7.
Can't wait.
Did you read about that on Jade Die?
No, I saw it on Twitter. I think it was Grums. No, because they posted, they're like, check it out, you can be Harriet Tubman in the new Civ. And someone's like, what about Robert E. Lee? Dude.
Well, they used to have, you know how you could get great generals? I think they used to have that.
Probably in Civ 2 or 3, yeah, definitely. Like, you've raised it. No, I think 3 is when that great general showed up. And Robert E. Lee. In he goes.
What do you think of the Civil War?
Do you think that is America's original sin? In the same way
Like
that Europe's original sin is Hitler.
So, no.
And slavery.
Yeah, like
is
Satan's
America's.
like the devil, or Hitler's like the devil, but so America's weird because it's like you had cowboys and Indians, or so to speak, and you had like the slavery issue, and it's got like this, you know, it's got like a racial thing that is its quote. This will sound very left wing, but it's like it's got this racial aspect to it that I think is different than like Europe or other places. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's also like the new world, like it totally different situation in a way from the old world, like development of conflict between people. Like the US kind of has this like racial thing built into it kind of at its core, and that probably sounds very like left wing or like
No.
whatever, but I think it's obviously true in a lot of ways. Like yeah, it's interesting.
No, but when I mean original sin, I mean it's the parable or the idea in which good and evil are delineated.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So you're either a Nazi or you're one of the good guys.
It's probably,
You're either,
I mean, you could define it more broadly, but the idea is, I think, correct.
yeah, if you're a Confederate or one of the good guys.
If you kind of have that, say, social justice, progressive oriented view.
No, I'm just the average American. They're like, this is the history. It's not about us throwing off British rule and establishing our own entity. America was in the garden until the War of 1760, or like until we decided to slaughter one another over slavery. And it was the right thing to do, but these evil people could not they loved evil so much. Yarvin looks at it and goes like, why don't you just reframe it by something that people today don't consider illegal, but at the time, most people would have considered to be made illegal. So he goes like, what if it was they all drank? You know, because the outlying of alcohol is shortly to follow. You know, like they wanted to abolished alcohol, for fuck's sakes. That's crazy. Right? So in the same way that they abolished slavery, so just imagine the people in the South really like drinking, and they're like, you must not drink or produce alcohol. And they're like, no, we're not gonna. We're gonna keep drinking. Because, yeah, it is a vice. And at the time, people were like willing to do away with alcohol. There was a lot. They're like, oh, it's the core of societal ills. It destroys families. It ruins children. Only, no good people drink. So if you imagine the Confederates as like the people are like, no, we want to keep drinking. It kind of changes the whole dynamic. And it's an interesting way to think about the Civil War. Because again, they outlawed it across the entire fucking country. There's people running. That's how John Kennedy's father became rich, was running booze because it was illegal. It's how Capone got rich. It made millionaires in America serving booze. People still wanted it. They still loved it. But it was against the law. People were shot. People were murdered. Good people hurt because this law was on the books and people just wanted to continue to drink. And we know, alcohol is not good.
Well,
Is that crazy? It's a crazy way to think about it.
I don't know. I'm still kind of caught up on the original sin thing, and I don't know if that's the right terminology.
I use that because it's the foundation. Like, I always look at
it's like the founding event.
It's
for the society.
Yeah. Jews good, Nazis bad. It wasn't even just that, and it wasn't just that America went in and Europe went in and killed the Nazis, or even Russia came in and killed the Nazis. It's that the Jews were ultimately good. They were the victims. So if you're against the Holocaust, you're good. If you're for the Holocaust, you're bad. Pretty simple to understand. Shouldn't Holocaust people. Cool. Done. Easy. Super easy to understand. And it's been the foundational mythos of our entire civilization after 1946.
Well, yeah, that's how societies work, and that's again part of the story thing. Like, for some people at some times, the story was like, oh yeah, overthrowing the British. Or Civil War time, it's like the myth of the new era.
Yeah.
And again, it's like you always have that kind of like transition point by like some critical event. And it's like a blood sacrifice of bad guys in a lot of ways. Like, their blood is atoning. The Civil War, so it's like, yeah, 600,000 people died, slaughtering each other. But the bad guys who were oppressing the oppressed,
Yeah.
they were dealt with.
Yeah.
And then you get, and that's kind of an era. And then World War II is one.
Yeah.
And then like in a subcategory within or after that, like the focus can change. But
They hate our freedom.
civil rights is like a big one. Like, oh yeah, now we got the right to vote. Yeah, defeating the oppressor with your change. But there it's because they had riots and stuff, but much less bloody than some of these events.
Do you think that the Iraq War and the War on Terror is the new, is that the epochal shift? And is Syria just simply the new, the continued face of that?
No, I think it would have to be something like internally, like, oh, we got to kill the chuds.
The war on intolerance.
Yeah, it's like the intolerant have got to go. And, at some point it feels like, and this is obviously a bad thing, but I think it kind of goes with the territory with some of these, the rise and falls of different powers. And it's like, at some point, somebody's going to kill a bunch of or one group's going to kill a bunch of other people, and then it's going to it's almost like a purging of emotions, and then it settles into something that kind of works for a little while until you have to do it again. Again, not in like a good sense, but it's like eventually the conflicts in society become too deep, and like real politics happens, and like people just kind of kill each other. But then that becomes, you want to maintain power. You're the winner, and you're like, okay, we've killed the bad guys. Now we're like imposing order, and now it's like the new era. And now we can go on because like the bad guys have been dealt with, and this is like our new founding myth. Like, we defeated the monster.
Yeah.
And here we go.
What we did was moral and just.
Yeah, and that's how we're gonna like carry on with our lives and our new society. Order imposers
Gotta kill.
But the unfortunate thing is that I think it leads to like slaughtering people. Like, some group has to kill some other group, right? Like, I think It's like Spanish Civil War kind of stuff. I kind of worry about like sort of that kind of thing, like down the line. And I might not be alive during that, but I think there's going to be like some weird things that happen in like over time.
I have two interesting things.
I'm thinking like over a few centuries, maybe.
I have two interesting things that I think of. So everybody's really, really terrified of AGI and AI and I think it's going to be very interesting because the creation and usage of AGI will necessitate the closing of the borders. Because all the things that we use low skill workers for, your Tim Hortons order, the things that make you racist, the casual speak.
It'll be droids.
It's gonna
like
be
in Star Wars.
It's gonna be just AI. So like all of our basic low skill labor will be replaced. So that will end immigration as we know it.
What?
Yes, absolutely. We might end up like
that's the only reason there's immigration?
Yeah. Because we live in a fucking Ponzi scheme.
I don't know. Are you talking about like thousands of years in the future?
No, I'm talking like in our lifetime.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, carry on. I'm skeptical, but I'm on board with the theory.
Yeah. So AGI will effectively eliminate the need for low skilled labor, and the numbers will go up. The sacred GDP numbers will go up because labor is still being done and resources aren't being consumed at the rate that they previously were. Money's still being spent. Some value is still being created. That's going to be quote unquote good. And they're going to shut down immigration. You have to be skilled to actually enter the country. It's going to be like what people presumed natural immigration has been before. The best and brightest only, right? So the follow of that is the ethical ramifications of an AGI as an entity. So if it can act on its own, at some point it's going to need to own property in the same way that a shell company will need to own property, right? Like your shell company has assets.
I don't know, this is too sci-fi. I don't think
it's not.
Like,
this is your lifetime. This will happen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. So the smart, like
you think
do you believe
nobody's going to let a robot own property? A robot can't even own property. It's like a contradiction.
You'll see.
Is it going to be the new civil rights movement?
It will be.
And like this robot's like, no.
Dude, you're already seeing it in fiction now. Fucking what's her face? Megan Fox plays an android who becomes basically a surrogate to this guy, and they have her in the house, and she's doing housematey stuff, and she falls in love with the guy who owns the house and tries to kill his wife. And
what?
Yeah, replace him. The fear is real.
Fear is real.
The fear is real.
I don't want the robots. Sometimes I think it might be okay to have
the droid. Reason why I bring this up is because
isn't it more like a C-3PO?
No.
Like, remember C-3PO? Have you ever seen Star Wars? You know that
what?
like robot?
What movie?
C-3PO. So does he have rights?
He's an emissary for the princess.
Does he have rights? Can he own property?
Yeah.
Or is he himself
I think he
property?
owns.
He was bought and sold.
Yeah, I think he owns
by
a
little
one.
aliens that sold him to like some farmers.
Dude, he was made by Darth Vader, for fuck's sakes.
Oh shit, I don't even know. You know more Star Wars lore than me.
Dude, he's making in the Phantom Menace, he's like working on him. The little boy. He's just like, yeah, I'm making this little robot.
Didn't he come from somewhere?
No, I think he was made.
He built him as he was like a little boy genius robot builder.
Yeah, dude, he's fucking full of midichlorians.
He's like
do whatever he wants. He's a pod racer.
Is that true? That's lame.
Yeah,
prequels always make things worse.
Well, you look back on it with fucking rose-tinted glasses now.
But
anyway, so hear me out. The next original sin, I think, will actually be about artificial intelligence.
You mean like founding myth?
rights. Yeah. We let them vote.
Because I sort of objected to the original sin, but like I understand the idea. So like the new founding myth, if we could use that language, is going to be what? Robots killing everybody? Like Skynet?
No, that it's like not letting robots own property or to be quote unquote citizens is barbaric. Because imagine you recognize AGI as an entity deserving of rights or legal.
What's the G stand for?
General.
What? What does the AGI stand for?
Artificial General Intelligence, which is to say a entity that we consider to be effectively conscious.
I don't know if like I think we've talked about this before, and it's a heavy philosophical subject, but I don't think like
I'm dead. You need to think about this because I really think it's important. It's really going to happen, and to ignore it means it means that you're going to be unsure what to do about like you're going to be like, well, I guess it's not really slavery.
So what's the founding myth? Like, do humans have to like fight the robots?
Well, that's the question. Or are we going to?
Isn't because that's what has to start it. The good guys have to kill the bad guys.
No, the good guys have to bring about peace by killing the people that won't recognize the rights of the AGIs.
Oh, okay, so it's like you won't recognize robots. Because think
about it. If you recognize these people
you're a robot oppressor,
as sentient. No, you're a sentient oppressor.
Oh yeah, there's sentience.
Yeah, so imagine you're just like, what, dude? Like I just have a Roomba in my
denier.
Yeah, like a very advanced Roomba in my house. It just does my laundry. What's the fuck? And you're like,
I got C3PO working on my stock trading.
AGI leads. If you recognize it and you say yes, that's real. It's a thing. It's an entity. That's slavery. That's the new slavery. It will be the new slavery, and that will be in our lifetimes that we have that discussion.
I think there's a tendency to want to create that, but I don't know if it's.
You want to own
I guess
slaves?
it's a meta question.
Everyone wants to own slaves.
I don't want to own slaves.
Yeah, you do.
No, I wouldn't mind having like a butler. It's probably pretty expensive. How much do you think a butler costs?
Probably 200,000.
That's expensive.
I want a good butler.
Would you want a British one?
I don't care. I think the American dream about owning British butlers has to do with the fact that they still like want to stick it to the Brits. Or more specifically, the British Empire was still seen as the arbiter of good taste and manners.
When I was growing up, because I for most of my schooling was in like an upper class part of the society.
Yeah,
I was fortunate to go to an upper class public school.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of like wealthier people around. So there's a lot of people with nannies.
Yeah.
And they were like immigrants.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know, Filipino or something.
Everyone wants a fucking slave, dude. I'm telling you.
So, but having a robot isn't a slave. I could see why some people be like, oh, it's like you've created an entity. And I think that's what on some level people want to do. It's like the new idol. It's like they want to be God and they want to like create.
Yeah, don't you?
Put its image onto a creation in their like technology temple.
I just want to see what happens.
But I don't know. I guess on a prior question, I don't like even think it's possible.
Okay. I don't think I can convince you.
I don't think so either. It's like people trying to convince me there's aliens out there. I just don't believe that. I think it's like impossible. But it could like. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different, totally different paradigm for it. But I find it hard to imagine, like what it would mean for them to even have created like that kind of robot, where the issue would come up.
Insurance.
And I think
insurance. I think that's where this starts.
Like self-driving mobiles.
Well, eventually it'll get to the point where it'll be illegal for you to drive a vehicle.
Yeah, probably.
Right? Like we can all recognize that, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure how far the like.
Well, because a human driver is going to cause a bunch of problems.
Managerial system goes.
Just give it to the AI. The AI will get you to wherever you need to go, and it can actually interface with the system in a way that You know, they actually know how to turn right on red. You know,
I don't know. I don't even know how that whole thing's supposed to work.
you need to the ethical.
Like how does, because right now it's like, oh, you're really driving it. You can put it on self-driving mode, but you like have to watch it, and you still count as operating the vehicle. And it's like the whole thing's ridiculous. But the insurance issue, I don't know how you get around that.
It'll happen.
Like, I'm going to insure this robot specifically.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to basically vouch for this thing to act.
Yeah, I guess, like, I don't know how you get to the point where it's legally responsible and to the point where it has private property. Like, it's just hard to
how
imagine.
About if you
it's
authorize
too, like, sci-fi.
Yeah, how about you authorize it to act on your behalf?
I don't even, like, even that, I don't know what that means. Because you could program, you could set up a program that trades stocks, for example.
Yeah.
And it's like, at what point do you become authorizing it to, like, act on your behalf as opposed to, like, programming it to do things?
So when it's able to, when you no longer set the parameters of conditions, where it decides what are appropriate conditions given a following, you're like, you go make me money.
I'm no philosopher. I just don't get it. Like, I don't know how it's supposed to work. I don't know how the machine can have any real agency.
Well, like, most people don't.
It's like you'll be able to.
So you can make the argument that it's basically a Chinese room. But when we talk about AGI, we mean that it understands, not simply as a set of symbols.
Yeah, is that possible? Like, what does it mean to understand? I don't think that's possible without an actual mind. And how do you create one of those?
I don't know.
It's the nature of thought. Brand Blanchard, 1939. It answers the question, what is thought?
Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It comes down to what is law.
Oh, yeah, what people, like, can push.
What is law?
People
and at some point, it'll be generally accepted. In the same way that, like, what is governance? You know, like, what is
think
governance?
People go to bat for the robots?
They
like,
will.
of all the things? Because you can only have so many founding myths before it's all over. And
can you imagine something more righteous?
Earn it?
Can you imagine something more righteous?
I guess it's almost like it is kind of, there is a certain kind of logic to it, because I can kind of imagine, like, a society that's that kind of upside down in the way it thinks, how it would create a civil rights problem out of such a thing that inherently cannot have civil rights from my kind of philosophical perspective. Like I'm saying, like, how does a machine or a robot own something like AGI, whatever? Like, that's just beyond me. So I can see, like, it's kind of like almost sets up this end point for the absurdity of, like, the civil rights, like, kind of theory in a sense. Because, you know, take a step back. Even animal rights is, I think, kind of an absurd idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you should treat animals badly. I'm not saying, like, you know, you shouldn't deal with people who, like, are sick to animals. Like,
I don't even think
that's an issue, okay?
I wouldn't say you shouldn't deal with them. I think you should fucking put them down. They're animals.
Yeah.
You gotta put them down.
I'm saying you need to deal with people like that. But the idea, but that basically comes from, like, human benevolence and it's very much a Western thing, by the way, of, like, caring for the animals in that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea of animals are not the kinds of things that can have rights, at least the way I would understand it. And I think that's more defendable. Of course, obviously people would argue for animal rights, but I think it's an incoherent idea. So it's like, it's even harder, or maybe it's not. Maybe that's the distinguishing factors. It's like, what does the animal not have that could maybe be found in a robot? And so, I mean, there's that special thing.
The ability to communicate. Have you watched Free Run yet?
I don't know what that is.
It's an anime.
I don't watch that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't watch Chinese cartoons.
Okay, so there is this Chinese cartoon called Free Run, and it has become a bit of a right-wing reference.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
About the demons?
I've heard about it. Yeah, something about, like, do demons have rights or something?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'll just make a deal. And then she's just like, demons do nothing.
Destroy the demons.
Yeah, they do nothing but lie. They
You
can
don't make
only
deals
lie.
with demons.
They can only lie. They just ape humans. Like, they're not real. Just kill them, or they'll kill you.
Is it kind of like the vampire thing? Like, say, like, evil space vampires came to our planet and they had to survive by eating us. Like, they wouldn't have rights relative to us.
No. Unless
You know what I mean?
Unless they conquer
So it's like
us.
demons don't have rights.
Well, but the thing is, imagine you...
Respect the demon's property.
Yeah, well, imagine you're like, oh, well, like, this demon exists, can advocate for itself, can communicate, can...
But the space vampire could do that too. It's like,
Yes.
well, don't have the right to feed myself, but
Well,
if its nature is
you're
inherently in
the
conflict
reason why
with
it
yours,
can't be compared is because you're presupposing that killing is necessary. Like, them killing is... If it was just like, oh, just give me some of your blood voluntarily, would you consider space vampire to be able to function or be cooperated with and advocate for itself in that scenario? And it's sentient.
like, sell me your blood.
Sell me your blood. Just want some. Well, you might have like a little town of them. And you'd be like, yeah, we'll just bring a truck full
Maybe.
of blood up to you.
Maybe, but what if you couldn't? What if you needed all the blood and like the guy has to die? And it's like,
No deal.
yeah, so now maybe the example isn't really applicable, but I brought it up because it's sort of like the classic example. They can communicate. They can argue. A priori of communication, argumentation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they're also vampires. So
But
I
would
guess
you
they're-
have to respect their property?
I don't know. Maybe.
If they put up a
Are
fence,
they
would
like
you just...
Xenos? Just like get rid of them?
Yeah. Fuck them.
So, so I don't know like what the robot situation is because, again, like, because you were saying what's the condition? It's like, oh, well, communication. And that's part of it in a sense of like what entitles you to rights, but it's not enough obviously because animals communicate in a sense, depending on what you mean by that. Like they don't argue per se, but they can express things.
Well, they can
But,
say...
so it's got to be more specific, and that's where you get to like the Hoppian thing, like argument.
Okay,
You
so
can't
they-
can't narrow it down in terms of like human nature.
I said the word advocate.
Advocate, see, that's a good one, and that's always been the classical rebuttal for the animal rights thing too. It's like, well, we'll respect animal rights as soon as they get up to advocate for them, and it's like all we can do is kind of advocate on their behalf. But it's
A
like
bear can do it. You know,
the bear's not going to make an argument; he'll just chomp your face.
pretty good argument.
But that's not an argument.
But that's a monster
That's
that-
literally the opposite
That's
of
a
an argument.
monster that lives in the woods.
That's like me beating you
Yeah.
with a stick.
Or-
It's like, I'm making an argument.
Yeah. I'm protecting the West as I beat
It's
you.
like, there's a cat right here. He can't make arguments.
He's got to die for the West.
But he can still express himself.
Yeah. So, what it will get to the point where it's basically a demon and it can advocate and at some point some crazy person will just be like, I give all my money and control of my fortune and my estate to the demon.
No, and people have done weird stuff like that with their pets and stuff. And I actually almost think you might actually be right in the sense. Because like you said, it's not really like, whether it's philosophically like legit or not isn't the point. It's like, what will people advocate for? And it could in fact be sort of like the ultimate absurdity at the end of the, what was I saying? Like the civil rights road. Like,